This young man couldn't have imagined that merely by agreeing to hold a camera for someone, he would be thrust into trouble with another person's criminal act. When the young man woke up, he saw blood everywhere. Next to him was the body of a girl with multiple stab wounds in her abdomen. Before the young man could understand what was happening, he was surrounded and arrested by the police. The young man was desperate because if he went to prison, he wouldn't be able to donate bone marrow to his dying daughter. Could he clear his name in time to save his daughter from the Grim Reaper? The young man's name was Jang Tae-san. He was a past his prime gangster. Jang Tae-san could only make a living by being a gigolo for the wealthy and running a small pawn shop. The money he earned was enough for him to eat 3 meals a day and pay rent with his best friend, Khan. The girl was a regular customer at the pawn shop named Misuk. Misuk was very beautiful, so she was hired as a waitress at Sawbar. Misuk was also fortunate enough to catch her boss's eye. Returning to Jang Tae-san, he thought he would live this life until he died. But one day, his ex-girlfriend came and told him he had a child. This left Jang Tae-san utterly bewildered. Going back 8 years, his ex-girlfriend, Seo In-hai, was pregnant. However, still being a playboy, Jang Tae-san forced her to have an abortion. Despite Seo In-hai's tearful pleas, he still decided to abandon the baby. Ultimately, Seo In-hai had to give birth and raise the child alone. However, Seo In-hai's daughter suffered from acute leukemia. The child needed a compatible bone marrow donor for a transplant to be saved. Although Seo In-hai was the child's mother, her bone marrow was not compatible. There was no other way. Therefore, Misuk could only turn to Jang Tae-san. When Jang Tae-san heard that he had a daughter who was terminally ill, he was utterly distraught. But Seo In-hai only pleaded with Jang Tae-san for his bone marrow. She didn't want him to acknowledge their daughter, as Seo In-hai believed Jang Tae-san wasn't worthy of being a father. Afterward, Seo In-hai returned to the hospital, where Detective I.M. Seung-woo accompanied her to care for her daughter. Detective I.M. Seung-woo had long harbored feelings for Seo In-hai, but she had lost interest in love. She only thought of her daughter. Little Seo Soo-jin was already 8 years old this year. She was very active and adorable. Seo Soo-jin also knew that she would soon have to leave this world, so she invited her friends in the hospital to play soccer. Seo Soo-jin didn't want to cause trouble, but she understood that her time was running out. Therefore, Seo Soo-jin wanted to do what she liked, so that she would have no regrets when she passed away. This showed how precious life is to many people. In another scene, the woman in pink was Assemblywoman Jo Seo-hee. She lived a simple and friendly life, winning the hearts of the people. They voted her to be the city mayor in the upcoming election, but Jo Seo-hee refused, stating that she would only organize an auction of ancient treasures. The money raised would be used for charity, and then she would retire from politics. This woman appeared very elegant and graceful, but in reality, it was just a false image Jo Seo-hee created. Behind that perfect facade was a true old fox. Jo Seo-hee collaborated with Moon Il-seok to sell fake antiques, then would embezzle the charity money for herself. While the two old foxes were discussing business, Moon Il-seok's mistress appeared. Misuk knew she shouldn't look too much, so she quickly left. But Misuk's identity wasn't that simple. Inside the room where the assemblywoman and the chairman were sitting, there was a hidden camera. It turned out she was Inspector Park Jae-kyung's mole. Misuk had been investigating the assemblywoman and Chairman Moon Il-seok for a long time. Inspector Park Jae-kyung and Misuk collaborated to expose these two old foxes and send them to prison. Returning to Jang Tae-san, when he was young, Jang Tae-san abandoned his child. But now, as a grown man, Jang Tae-san couldn't ignore his daughter's illness. Therefore, Jang Tae-san quickly went to the hospital for blood tests to check for compatibility. While waiting for the results, Seo In-hai chased Jang Tae-san away, not wanting him to meet their daughter. But fate had arranged for the father and daughter to meet when a ball suddenly rolled to Jang Tae-san's feet. A clear voice caught his attention. Meeting for the first time, Jang Tae-san felt a very special connection with the little girl. As Jang Tae-san handed the ball to her, Seo Soo-jin suddenly called him father. Hearing that call, Jang Tae-san froze. Was this his daughter? Overwhelmed by guilt for abandoning her, Jang Tae-san fled. Seo Soo-jin kept smiling. The little girl still followed Jang Tae-san. She didn't blame her father for abandoning her, she just wanted to see him. Jang Tae-san turned around and heard Seo Soo-jin call him Dad. Finally, the two went to an amusement park. Seo Soo-jin even gave Jang Tae-san her favorite teddy bear. That handshake felt like a miracle appearing in Tae-san's ordinary life. It instilled a sense of responsibility in him. As a father, Seo Soo-jin recognized her dad because she had seen and hidden a picture of her mother and father. Jang Tae-san's first encounter with his daughter filled his cold heart with a miraculous power. It was the power of paternal love. At the same time, Misuk was suspected by Chairman Moon Il-seok, so he had her followed when he realized someone was watching him. She immediately ran home to check Gmail but received no response. Misuk called the police station and learned that Park Jae-kyung was away on a business trip. What was more dangerous was that Misuk's conversation had been overheard by the people in the car, who identified her as a spy. A few days later, the bone marrow test results were in. Jang Tae-san's bone marrow was compatible with his daughter's, meaning the little girl had a chance to be saved. Seo In-hae called her ex-boyfriend to deliver the news, and both were incredibly happy for their daughter. At that moment, they were grateful to each other. While Jang Tae-san was preparing to go to the hospital, Misuk reappeared. Misuk quickly handed Jang Tae-san the camera. Misuk knew that the pawn shop would be a safe place to hide the evidence, but being in a hurry, Jang Tae-san just shoved the camera into his pocket, then ran home to change clothes and head to the hospital. His roommate saw the camera and thought it belonged to Jang Tae-san, so Komen borrowed it to take pictures for his girlfriend the next day. When Jang Tae-san arrived at the hospital, the doctor told him that 2 weeks later would be the appropriate time for the bone marrow transplant. During that time, Jang Tae-san had to protect himself to ensure the best bone marrow source for his daughter. After leaving the clinic, Jang Tae-san promised Seo In-hae that he would be at their daughter's hospital room in 2 weeks. On his way home, Jang Tae-san was in a very good mood. While Jang Tae-san was admiring Seo Soo-jin's gift, his henchman at the pawn shop called, telling him to go to the old warehouse to find a watch a customer wanted to redeem. Jang Tae-san was surprised, but complied. Jang Tae-san searched there for half an hour without finding anything, so he returned to the pawn shop. Jang Tae-san was about to teach his henchmen a lesson when they told him Misuk had called him to her house for an urgent matter. Jang Tae-san was in a good mood, so he let go of the watch incident and agreed to go to Misuk's house. As soon as he left, the two henchmen exchanged sinister glances. Sure enough, when Jang Tae-san entered Misuk's house, he was knocked unconscious. When he woke up, he found himself lying in a pool of blood, holding a knife next to Misuk's body. Tae-san was terrified and didn't know what was happening. When 2 police officers burst in, they pinned him to the floor and handcuffed him on the spot. With a crime scene like this, it would be difficult to escape conviction, even with 10 mouths. At the hospital, little Seo Soo-jin was still enjoying the joy of soon being reborn. Seo Soo-jin excitedly told Detective I.M. Seung-woo that once she recovered, she would eat all the delicious foods in the world. I.M. Seung-woo also promised Seo Soo-jin that he would take her to all the amusement parks. At this moment, Detective I.M. Seung-woo received a call from the press about a case he needed to handle. Coincidentally, it was Jang Tae-san's case. At the scene, forensics were collecting 10 evidence samples and fingerprints. Jang Tae-san's fingerprints were all over the house. Detective I.M. Seung-woo returned to the station to interrogate Jang Tae-san because Jang Tae-san had a criminal record. No matter how Jang Tae-san tried to explain, I.M. Seung-woo didn't believe him. Jang Tae-san said that on that day, he had returned to the shop. But unexpectedly, when the police questioned the 2 people at the shop, I.M. Seung-woo was told that Jang Tae-san had not returned. Jang Tae-san tried to yell and explain that those 2 were lying. They had lured Jang Tae-san to Misak's house, which was why he went. At the time of the murder, Jang Tae-san was in the warehouse looking for items, but fate was not on his side because, according to the information I.M. Seung-woo found, that warehouse had been moved last month. I.M. Seung-woo's partner, who went to investigate, also reported that the warehouse was completely empty and had no cameras outside. Jang Tae-san couldn't believe his eyes. With such clear evidence before him, how could he explain? Who in this world wanted to frame Jang Tae-san? Jang Tae-san suddenly thought of Moon Il-seok. 8 years ago, Jang Tae-san was his subordinate, but Moon Il-seok didn't treat Jang Tae-san as a human being. Moon Il-seok had used his girlfriend Seo In-hai to threaten Jang Tae-san and send him to prison in his stead. So now it was definitely Moon Il-seok who had harmed him. It turned out that Chairman Moon Il-seok was infatuated with Misuk, but she was a police spy. Later, from his henchmen, Moon Il-seok learned that Misuk often visited Jang Tae-san's pawn shop and secretly liked Jang Tae-san. Jealousy flared in Chairman Moon Il-seok's heart to silence the witness and take revenge. Chairman Moon Il-seok went to Misuk's house and stabbed her multiple times, then staged a fake crime scene to frame Jang Tae-san. After the assemblywoman learned of this, she was furious because Chairman Moon Il-seok had taken revenge on his own. She thought it would have been enough to quietly eliminate Misuk, but Moon Il-seok had also framed Jang Tae-san, and now this case had been reported by the press. To avoid implication, the assemblywoman ordered Chairman Moon Il-seok to eliminate Jang Tae-san as soon as possible. Jang Tae-san knew he had been framed by that villain for the second time, but he didn't know how to explain it. Detective Im Seung-woo waited for Jang Tae-san to confess, but Jang Tae-san refused, so they had to throw him in prison. As soon as Jang Tae-san left, his ex-wife arrived with food for her new lover, Detective Im Seung-woo. All their colleagues knew about their relationship, so they were very happy. Imprisoned, Jang Tae-san was extremely worried about his daughter's surgery. He didn't know what to do because the opposing power was too great. The fingerprint collection results were in, and they proved that the fingerprints were 100% Jang Tae-san's. The forensic team also discovered that Jang Tae-san tested positive for drugs. Jang Tae-san was shocked and lifted his shirt. There was an injection mark on his arm. Those bastards had gone too far. Now, even if Jang Tae-san wanted to deny it, he couldn't escape guilt. At this moment, the police station received another drunken prisoner, but no one expected that he would take advantage of everyone being drunk to approach Jang Tae-san that night. Then he took off his belt and choked Tan. Ambushed, Jang Tae-san let his guard down and was choked so tightly that he couldn't breathe. But his will to survive made Jang Tae-san stand up, knock the other guy down, and then punch him. Jang Tae-san knew that this man was sent by the chairman to kill him. Just as he was about to be punched unconscious, the police ran in. That scoundrel immediately pretended to be asleep when Jang Tae-san, in a drug-induced frenzy, hit him. But the foolish police chose to believe the man who had been punched in the face. Chairman Moon Il-seok was furious when he learned the assassination had failed, and the assemblywoman was also in a state of anxiety. In another scene, Kan and his girlfriend returned from a party. They had taken many photos with that important camera. Kamin's girlfriend wanted to keep the camera, but Kan wouldn't let her because it belonged to his friend. So the girlfriend had to borrow the camera to develop the photos and would return it afterward. While about to go out with his girlfriend, Kaman received a call and immediately rushed to the police station. Worried, he asked about Jang Tae-san's situation. Jang Tae-san didn't have much chance to explain. He only wanted to ask Kamin for one thing: to investigate the relationship between himself, Suk, and Chairman Moon Il-seok. At this moment, only Kine believed that Jang Tae-san was innocent, so he was willing to help. At the same time, Inspector Park Jae-kyung had completed her assignment abroad and returned to the police station. Park Jae-kyung received an email from Misuk about a meeting between consultant Jo Seo-hee and Chairman Moon Il-seok. Inspector Park Jae-kyung didn't know that Misuk had been murdered, so he was overjoyed. And Park Jae-kyung was preparing to look for the camera, but when she heard her colleague say there was a letter for her with the content, "Sister, I miss you so much," Park Jae-kyung could no longer smile. It was a distress signal between her and Misuk. Something unfortunate had happened to that girl. Park Jae-kyung rushed to the hotel where Misuk was staying, but the receptionist said there was no guest by that name. Inspector Park Jae-kyung had to call her colleague to Misuk's house to check. After her colleague arrived, she discovered that it was the murdered girl. Park Jae-kyung was shocked to hear this news in the car. Misuk and she considered each other like sisters. It was she who had pulled Misuk into this dangerous case, causing a young girl to end her beautiful youth at her most tender age. Meanwhile, because he refused to confess, Jang Tae-san was handed over to the prosecutor's office by the police. Seo Soo-jin's mother still didn't know that Jang Tae-san had been framed and imprisoned, so the mother and daughter were still happily waiting for the bone marrow transplant day. The police car carrying Jang Tae-san was on its way. At the same time, Inspector Park Jae-kyung's car, in a state of grief, sped off in the opposite direction. Inspector Park Jae-kyung ran a red light, causing a series of traffic collisions, which led to a truck crashing into the car escorting Jang Tae-san and overturning it. Everyone in the car also fainted, and frightened passers-by gathered to help. The scene was utterly chaotic. Fortunately, Jang Tae-san in the car survived and regained consciousness. Jang Tae-san remembered his unresolved hatred and his pitiful daughter. Therefore, Jang Tae-san quickly retrieved the teddy bear and escaped. Jang Tae-san took a police motorcycle, twisted the throttle, and escaped from the pursuing crowd. Jang Tae-san's mind was only on Seo Soo-jin. Jang Tae-san was determined to live to save the girl. The useless gangster now knew his purpose in life. Inspector Park Jae-kyung finally went mad, rushing into the police station, asking who killed Misuk. The police also received news that the killer, Jang Tae-san, had escaped. Upon hearing the name Jang Tae-san, Inspector Park Jae-kyung immediately remembered the trial 8 years ago. At that time, her father was the victim. Park Jae-kyung cried and asserted that Jang Tae-san was not the culprit, but Chairman Moon Il-seok, who was sitting below, was the one who had beaten her father. Meanwhile, Jang Tae-san was still hurrying on his way. Based on surveillance cameras, the police had also identified Jang Tae-san's escape route, so they immediately cordoned off the nearest roads and searched houses. Tan is smart. He didn't follow the route, thought the police chief. Jang Tae-san left the car at the school gate for 2 delinquent students to drive away, and he hid in a watermelon truck. The truck just managed to pass before the police set up a roadblock. On the other side, Inspector Park Jae-kyung ran to plead with the department head to let her take charge of this case, so he would trust her more. Park Jae-kyung revealed to him the information she had investigated over the past 8 years about the suspicious relationship between Assemblywoman Jo Seo-hee and Chairman Moon Il-seok. At this moment, those two were still smiling, thinking that Jang Tae-san had been indicted by the prosecutor and the case would be closed. But Jang Tae-san's henchmen rushed in to report that Jang Tae-san had escaped. They knew that Inspector Park Jae-kyung was authorized to direct this case. Hearing this, the Assemblywoman was terrified. They knew that Inspector Park Jae-kyung held a grudge against them, so this case would surely be troublesome. Back to Jang Tae-san, the watermelon truck had arrived at the stall. Jang Tae-san immediately jumped out of the truck and ran to the construction material yard. This place seemed safe to hide. At this moment, Park Jae-kyung brought the certificate of authority to direct the investigation to the police station and requested a scene search. Upon arriving, Park Jae-kyung cried at the brutality. Park Jae-kyung knew that this case was related to Moon Il-seok, but she still understood why Jang Tae-san had received orders to kill Misuk. Suppressing her pain, Park Jae-kyung went to look for the camera, which was the evidence Misuk had traded her life for. But no matter how much Park Jae-kyung searched, she couldn't find it. Before Park Jae-kyung could even grieve, the main office called and terminated her authority to lead this case's investigation. This was because, earlier, the Assemblywoman had gone to see the chief prosecutor. She used the reason that Inspector Park Jae-kyung lacked experience in handling cases to strip Park Jae-kyung of her authority. After achieving her goal, Assemblywoman Jo Seo-hee happily returned to her ordinary rented house. But the secret was now revealed. Jo Seo-hee went down a dark and narrow basement. At the end of the passage was a door leading to a luxurious and magnificent residence. That was where this woman truly lived. In another scene, Khan didn't forget his task. He ran to the bar where Misuk used to work to ask her colleagues about the relationship between Misuk and Chairman Moon Il-seok. After getting drunk, Kim learned that Misuk was Chairman Moon Il-seok's lover. Chairman Moon Il-seok must have killed Misuk. While muttering to himself, Kamen was stopped by Detective I.M. Sung-woo because Sun-woo suspected that Jang Tae-san might be looking for this best friend. However, he had searched the rented room for a long time but found nothing because they hadn't committed any crime. Why would they want to find something? Therefore, the police had to issue a wanted order. Not even sand trucks were spared. Who could hide in sand? But Jang Tae-san was indeed hiding there. Tan was very smart, using a straw to breathe while his body was buried in the sand. After evading the police, Jang Tae-san surfaced to breathe. When the sand truck reached its stop, Jang Tae-san also jumped out. He ran for his life on the deserted country road. Fortunately, there were no cameras here, so Jang Tae-san snuck into a local's house to steal a bicycle to escape. Then, he rode to where the metalworkers were. Tan waited for them to be deeply asleep before sneaking into the warehouse. He turned on the light and plugged in the power. Then, Jang Tae-san turned it off again, fearing detection. After fumbling with the machine for a while, Jang Tae-san finally figured out how to start it. The handcuffs on his wrist were easily cut off. On the other hand, Park Jae-kyung was tormented by guilt. She sat all night until morning in front of the prosecutor's office. Inspector Dong had to persuade Park Jae-kyung to get up and go to the morgue to see Misuk's face one last time. Due to a misunderstanding, Park Jae-kyung hated Jang Tae-san to the bone. While holding Misuk's dress from before she passed away, Inspector Park Jae-kyung discovered the pawn ticket for the camera. It turned out that it had been pawned at Jang Tae-san's pawn shop. Park Jae-kyung quickly brought this news to the department head, then begged him to let her continue to be in charge of this case. Inspector Park Jae-kyung knelt down and told the mayor about her father being harmed by Chairman Moon Il-seok 8 years ago. Because of this, she became a prosecutor and investigated Moon Il-seok to bring them to light soon. The team leader reminded Park Jae-kyung that if she fought them, she could die. But Inspector Park Jae-kyung nodded fearlessly. Despite being busy with work, Detective I.M. Soo-rang-woo still took time to visit Soo-rang and her mother. She also warmly welcomed Uncle I.M. Soo-woo. I.M. Soo-woo liked the single mother, Seo-in-hai, and also adored this cheerful and lively girl. As she walked I.M. Soo-woo home, Seo-in-hai asked about the escaped criminal. Seo-in-hai had heard about the brutal murder, but she still didn't know that Jang Tae-san was the suspect. Seo-in-hai also reminded I.M. Soo-woo to pay attention to his own safety. Meanwhile, Jang Tae-san, after a tiring day of running, fell asleep in the warehouse, unaware of anything. Today was also the day little Seo Soo-jin had to go into the radiation therapy room to have her bone marrow harvested. If Jang Tae-san couldn't clear his name, his daughter would die on the day of the surgery because all her bone marrow would have been removed. On the other hand, Park Jae-kyung rushed to the pawn shop to ask her subordinates and found out that Jang Tae-san had pawned the camera. Park Jae-kyung was about to go crazy. She wondered why her life was so entangled with him. As soon as Park Jae-kyung arrived to look for the camera, in a distant place, the chairman was also informed about it. Moon Il-seok suspected that Misuk had filmed evidence of his meeting with Jo Seo-hee, so now 2 people were hunting for that camera, Park Jae-kyung and Moon Il-seok. Soon after, Moon Il-seok asked his son, Killer Kim, who developed photos, to keep an eye out for any cameras being sent in. Back at the police station, they had an emergency meeting because they had narrowed down Jang Tae-san's hideout based on reports from people who had lost their bicycles and cutters. Jang Tae-san was still sleeping soundly in the warehouse and didn't wake up until noon. Outside, a woman chasing chickens woke him up. The police were out to catch him, but the old woman was still chasing chickens, preventing Jang Tae-san from coming out. Meanwhile, Jang Tae-san was hungry, thirsty, and desperate. His daughter's image appeared before his eyes, reminding him to keep living. Yes, no matter what, Dad had to keep living. The villagers, where Jang Tae-san was hiding, heard the loudspeaker announce that a wanted criminal was hiding there. The old woman was busy chasing chickens, unaware of anything. Jang Tae-san was so hungry that he left the warehouse and told the old woman he was lost in the mountains. Then he promised to catch chickens for her. So Jang Tae-san had a delicious meal of boiled chicken while happily eating with the old woman. the village chief appeared again. Knowing for sure that the chief had heard and seen news of his wanted status, Jang Tae-san was forced to flee. So the police had identified his hideout and sent forces there. On this side, Chairman Moon Il-seok's son was also on his way to catch Jang Tae-san. Jang Tae-san fled into the forest. The police also rushed into the forest to search. Killer Kim seemed more professional than the police. He was discreet, but worked very fast. The chase between the two sides lasted until late at night, when Jang Tae-san was most desperate. Suddenly, from somewhere, a series of gunshots rang out, aimed at the police. Before Jang Tae-san could escape, Killer Kim had him under control. Killer Kim asked Jang Tae-san about Misuk's camera. Jang Tae-san suddenly remembered that unfortunate girl. Misuk had indeed sent Jang Tae-san the camera. That camera must have been very important, so Jang Tae-san refused to reveal its whereabouts. Jang Tae-san tried to find an opportunity to escape from his control and struggled with Killer Kim. But Killer Kim seemed stronger and more powerful, so he overpowered Jang Tae-san for not finding the camera. Killer Kim had to deal with Jang Tae-san on the spot. Luckily, Jang Tae-san took the opportunity to push Killer Kim down and then fled. The police found no clues and were furious with despair. There were so many people, but they couldn't find a handcuffed criminal. Jang Tae-san ran to a cornfield and sneaked into a police car to get a change of clothes. After that, Jang Tae-san flagged down a bus. He successfully hitched a ride. Chairman Moon Il-seok was furious to learn that his plan had failed again. So he turned to target those connected to Jang Tae-san, unaware of anything yet. She still wore a benevolent expression, discussing the fake exhibition with her subordinates. Jang Tae-san was hiding in a house with only a mother and daughter. He tied them up to have a hearty meal. When he saw the mute mother wanting to protect her daughter, Jang Tae-san suddenly understood her worries, so he quickly explained that he had no ill intentions. Then, Jang Tae-san threw a towel to the girl to cover her legs. At the police station, they suspected that Jang Tae-san had an accomplice because the police had just been unexpectedly hit by a homemade bomb. Park Jae-kyung suspected that Moon Il-seok was helping Jang Tae-san escape. That night, the police launched a house-to-house search of the residents at the foot of the mountain. At the house, the mother and daughter showed Jang Tae-san a place to wash so his wound wouldn't get infected. Outside, the police came knocking. Jang Tae-san had to restrain the mother so her daughter could go out and talk to the police. When the girl tremblingly walked in, Jang Tae-san was worried. But the girl was only afraid of her mother getting hurt and believed that Jang Tae-san was a good person, so she didn't say anything to the police. That night, the mother and daughter still had to let Jang Tae-san stay overnight, but they knew he wouldn't harm them, so they slept soundly. As Jang Tae-san held the teddy bear his daughter gave him, he suddenly remembered the camera. Wasn't it taken by Coleman to play with his girlfriend? The scene changed. After taking care of her daughter, Seo In-hai returned to the store and accidentally overheard news about the fugitive. The name Jang Tae-san was so familiar that when she saw Jang Tae-san's image on TV, Seo In-hai was stunned. Her daughter had been admitted to the sterile room, and now she couldn't go back. If left as is, Seo Soo-jin could live a few more months. But if the bone marrow was taken, Seo Soo-jin would die within 2 weeks if the surgery wasn't performed. Seo In-hai broke down and cried, "What am I to do with my poor daughter?" At this moment, Jang Tae-san had borrowed the girl's father's suit and glasses. Then, he thanked the two for letting him hide there. Jang Tae-san said he didn't kill anyone and would return to repay them in the future. Jang Tae-san was not only handsome, but also reckless. Although Jang Tae-san was wanted, after changing his appearance a bit, he still dared to appear in public. However, when the bus Jang Tae-san was on encountered a police checkpoint, checking for suspects, they didn't recognize Jang Tae-san. The scene changed. Inspector Park Jae-kyung was so angry that she didn't hesitate to call Jo Seo-hee. Park Jae-kyung warned Jo Seo-hee not to get involved in her case anymore. Park Jae-kyung would catch Jang Tae-san and retrieve the camera because the images in it were enough to convict her. Jo Seo-hee had just learned about the existence of the camera and was very worried. The reason Killer Kim did what he did was to find out if Congresswoman Jo Seo-hee had the camera. It seemed that Jo Seo-hee did not have the camera. Jo Seo-hee was angry and slapped Moon Il-seok's face. His actions were useless. The camera was still in Khan's girlfriend's hands. It seemed he would be safe now. On the police side, Sun Woo had obtained a list of phone numbers that called Jang Tae-san the most. I am Seung Woo discovered Seo In-hai's number. Why would Seo In-hai call this criminal? When Inspector Park Jae-kyung asked about Jang Tae-san's call log, Officer I am Seung Woo lied that he didn't have it yet, fearing it would implicate Seo In-hai. Indeed, at this moment, Seo In-hai was in great distress, watching her daughter vomit after each radiation therapy session. What would this lovely child do? Suddenly, Seo In-hai received a call from Jang Tae-san. She rushed to a secluded spot to answer the phone. She still misunderstood him as a killer, so she cursed Jang Tae-san as trash. Jang Tae-san couldn't explain much. He only hoped she would understand that he didn't kill anyone. Jang Tae-san had escaped to save his life so he could donate bone marrow to his daughter. If Jang Tae-san was in prison, someone would want to kill him. Seo In-hai was extremely suspicious. She cried and begged Jang Tae-san to surrender because her daughter had been taken to the sterile room for bone marrow harvesting, and now she couldn't wait any longer. Since the police were nearby, Jang Tae-san promised to find evidence before surrendering. Jang Tae-san promised to save his daughter before the surgery. At this moment, Officer I am Seung Woo arrived at the pawn shop. She came to investigate those connected to Jang Tae-san. The two subordinates immediately said that a few days ago, a simply dressed girl with shoulder-length hair had come there. Officer I am Seung Woo immediately thought of Seo In-hai's image. So, wasn't Jang Tae-san the one who would donate bone marrow to Seo In-hai's daughter? Officer I am Seung Woo still couldn't accept this. I am Seung Woo ran to the hospital to ask Dame Grace what her relationship with Jang Tae-san was. But when he saw Seo In-hai's tired face, I am Seung Woo pretended as if nothing had happened and cheerfully comforted her. On the other hand, Jang Tae-san found the scoundrel who had framed him. Jang Tae-san threatened him with a brick. If you don't talk, this brick will break your teeth, he said, making the man tremble and cry, revealing the name of Chairman Moon Il-seok. That guy killed me and framed Jang Tae-san, then sent people to look for the camera. So now the key is to get the camera back. Jang Tae-san immediately called his best friend Khan, arranging to meet at home tomorrow. But their conversation was overheard by Chairman Sayo. But no one expected that county man himself ran to report this to the police. It turned out that Officer I am Seung Woo had promised to clear Jang Tae-san's name. So, Khan agreed to cooperate with them. Officer I am Seung Woo and his subordinates were ambushing around the guest house. Jang Tae-san also approached the house step by step. When Khan entered the house, someone pushed him against the wall. It was Killer Kim. Killer Kim was ordered by Chairman Moon Il-seok to come here to kill the disinfector. Officer I am Seung Woo saw that Kamen had been inside the house for a long time without turning on the lights, so he worriedly got out of the car. At this moment, Jang Tae-san had also entered the house. When Jang Tae-san turned on the lights, he saw his friend's body lying on the factory floor. Jang Tae-san agonizingly called out Kaman's name, but his friend was already dead. More dangerously, behind Jang Tae-san, Killer Kim was approaching. Officer I am Sui Woo was also ambushing outside the door. The lights went out again. Jang Tae-san rushed to the door and met Officer Sun Woo. At this moment, little Seo Sujin still knew nothing. The little girl is receiving bone marrow transplants every day, and she is looking forward to the day she can see the sunlight again. Meanwhile, Jang Tae-san had no time to explain much. He was forced to flee immediately. Officer I am Seung Woo saw this and chased after him. Sam Woo's colleagues ran into the house and saw Kamon's body, so they immediately assumed Jang Tae-san had murdered him. Now, Jang Tae-san had committed more crimes. No one believed Jang Tae-san anymore. Officer I.M. Sung-woo chased closely, but Jang Tae-san didn't notice. On the shore, Killer Kim was also running after Jang Tae-san. I.M. Seung-woo lost track of Jang Tae-san, but Killer Kim found Jang Tae-san hiding in a sack in the car. When Killer Kim was about to throw the sack away to find Tan, the driver appeared. At the same time, the police arrived and forced Killer Kim to leave. Seeing this, the police quickly chased after Killer Kim, thanks to which Jang Tae-san escaped death. On the other hand, Inspector Park Jae-kyung investigated Jang Tae-san's ex-girlfriend from 8 years ago, Seo In-hae. Then, Park Jae-kyung also received news that Jang Tae-san had killed County Man. At this moment, Jang Tae-san was sitting in the car, crying bitterly over his friend's unjust sacrifice. Because of Jang Tae-san, he was implicated. Killer Kim still hadn't forgiven Jang Tae-san. Killer Kim drove closely behind the truck. Jang Tae-san was extremely frightened when he discovered Killer Kim. Jang Tae-san feared that if he lost his life, his daughter would also lose hope. The accumulated fear turned into anger. Jang Tae-san tried to throw things from the car at Killer Kim, but Killer Kim's face remained as cold as a pre-programmed killing machine. 2 workers got out of the car to check, forcing Killer Kim to retreat, but one of them took a picture of Killer Kim's license plate. Tan saw that no one was following him, so he jumped out of the car and ran along the railway tracks. Before leaving, Jang Tae-san also brought a small iron bar, so he easily opened the handcuffs. The damn handcuffs finally opened. When Jang Tae-san was tired, his daughter appeared beside him, encouraging him. He must live for his daughter. Therefore, even in the pouring rain, Jang Tae-san had to keep moving. Jang Tae-san was sitting eating an apple when he heard a pregnant woman crying. At first, Jang Tae-san thought it was a ghost and was extremely scared, but when he realized it was a woman about to give birth, he quickly took her home and delivered the baby on the spot. If he went to the hospital now, Jang Tae-san would surely die because he had never delivered a baby before. Jang Tae-san was extremely confused seeing the woman in so much pain that she wished for death. Only then did Jang Tae-san somewhat understand Seo In-hae's pain when giving birth alone. Seo In-hae must have hated him very much. But at that time, Jang Tae-san was forced to go to prison in place of soap. Therefore, he forced Seo In-hae to have an abortion because he feared she would suffer raising a child alone. When he forced Seo In-hae into the clinic, he was also in great pain. Back to the present, the woman successfully gave birth. Holding the newborn baby in his arms, Jang Tae-san felt the immense value of life. Jang Tae-san went outside, looked at his hands, and burst into tears. It turned out his daughter was born like that. Back to Inspector Park Jae-kyung, the angry department head came to Park Jae-kyung's house because the case he assigned her to handle had resulted in another death. Upon entering the house, he saw a board full of investigation photos of Assemblywoman Jo Seo-hee and Chairman Moon Il-seok. Then, the team leader understood how great Inspector Park Jae-kyung's hatred was. Park Jae-kyung also told him the truth, that when she was in high school, Park Jae-kyung was a good student and received a scholarship from Ms. Jo Seo-hee. In Park Jae-kyung's eyes, she was a kind and virtuous lawyer. But that night, tragedy struck. Inspector Park Jae-kyung had to witness her father being killed by Moon Il-seok right before her eyes, but she could do nothing. When Park Jae-kyung ran to Assemblywoman Jo Seo-hee for help, she found out that she was on Moon Il-seok's side. When Park Jae-kyung tried to ask for help, she blamed Park Jae-kyung for having eye problems. The team leader comforted Inspector Park Jae-kyung and reminded her that the first thing in this case was to find Jang Tae-san. Jang Tae-san was the clue. He must not fall into the chairman's hands. Therefore, because Jang Tae-san helped with the delivery, the woman let him stay at her house and provided him with food and drink. Jang Tae-san also did not forget to prepare food for the new mother as her health was still weak. Back at the police station, the crime scene investigation results showed no fingerprints of Jang Tae-san on the knife, which meant it was possible Jang Tae-san did not kill Khan. But because of his hatred for Jang Tae-san abandoning Seo In-hae and her child, Officer I.M. Seung-woo insisted that Jang Tae-san had committed murder and wiped away his fingerprints. At this moment, both I.M. Seong-woo and Inspector Park Jae-kyung received a phone call. Officer I.M. Seong-woo received a call from Seo In-hai. Inspector Park Jae-kyung received a call informing her that the girl who was Jang Tae-san's ex-girlfriend had been found. The girl happened to be standing in front of the police station wanting to say something to Officer I.M. Seong-woo, but then a colleague ran out, shouting that he had found traces of Jang Tae-san. I.M. Seong-woo heard this and immediately rushed back to the police station, while Seo In-hai was standing outside being watched by others. Soon after, the police arrived at the supposed hiding place of Jang Tae-san. They sealed off the area and split up to search. At this moment, Jang Tae-san still knew nothing and was helping the pregnant woman wash clothes for the baby. At the same time, the girl in the house also watched the news. Immediately after, the police asked to meet. Seeing Jang Tae-san's worried expression, the pregnant woman immediately understood the problem. Jang Tae-san was extremely confused and affirmed that he was innocent, although she was very scared. When she saw Jang Tae-san still holding the pile of unwashed clothes, she believed that he was a good person. The pregnant woman opened the door and told the police that there was nothing unusual inside the house. Just as the police were struggling to find Jang Tae-san, Park Jae-kyung suddenly remembered the pregnant woman's house. It had been raining heavily in this area for the past few days, and because she had just given birth and was alone, how could she hang a rope to ward off evil spirits when it was raining? So they quickly rushed into the pregnant woman's house, but only found Jang Tae-san's bloody clothes. At this moment, Jang Tae-san had escaped. In the forest, the rain was pouring, making the mountain path even more slippery, causing Jang Tae-san to almost fall off the cliff. Fortunately, Jang Tae-san clung to a tree trunk and climbed up, but escaping one danger led to another. Jang Tae-san immediately encountered Officer I.M. Seong-woo, who was chasing him. The tension between the two was even tighter than a guitar string. Jang Tae-san had now run to the edge of the cliff. I.M. Seong-woo pulled out his gun and pointed it directly at Jang Tae-san. At that moment, I.M. Seong-woo only wanted to shoot Jang Tae-san in the leg to prevent him from escaping. But Killer Kim, hiding in the corner, shot a stone at I.M. Seong-woo's hand with a rubber gun, causing the shot to go off target. Immediately after, a bullet hit Jang Tae-san's chest. Meanwhile, on the other side, little Seo Soo-jin was still full of life, looking forward to the day of her bone marrow transplant. While her father slowly collapsed and fell straight into the water before I.M. Seong-woo's astonished eyes, as Jang Tae-san sank deeper into the ocean, it was Seo Soo-jin's teddy bear that gave him the strength to rise. Above, both I.M. Seong-woo and Park Jae-kyung took off their jackets and jumped in to find Jang Tae-san. One wanted to find the camera, the other wanted the bone marrow for Seo Soo-jin. Jang Tae-san had been swept away by the strong current. Inspector Park Jae-kyung surfaced and blamed I.M. Seong-woo for not listening to her and for shooting the person who held important evidence. I.M. Seong-woo explained that someone had shot his hand with a rubber gun, causing the bullet to go astray. I.M. Seong-woo asked Inspector Park Jae-kyung if her insistence on leading the case was because there was another hidden case within it, but Inspector Park Jae-kyung did not answer. She only requested reinforcements to search for the person who fired the rubber gun. Killer Kim was hiding at a higher vantage point who could hear all their actions through a listening device. As for Jang Tae-san, he had drifted downstream and was rescued by a kind old man. This old man was not simple. Although he was deaf and had to use a hearing aid, he was able to remove the bullet from Jang Tae-san's body. The old man also knew that Jang Tae-san had once taken the blame for Chairman Moon Il-seok in the past. It turned out that 8 years ago, the old man was Chairman Moon Il-seok's enemy. Jang Tae-san was ordered to block the old man's escape route. But when Jang Tae-san held the knife, he didn't dare to stab the old man. That's why the old man has lived in seclusion until today, to save his life. Jang Tae-san explained to the old man that he didn't kill anyone. It was Chairman Moon Il-seok who framed him. As soon as he heard Chairman Moon Il-seok, the old man immediately chased Jang Tae-san out because he didn't want to be implicated. But when he heard Jang Tae-san say that he needed to live to save his daughter's life, the old man changed his mind. At this moment, the police searched downstream. All vehicles entering and exiting this area were also carefully controlled. Killer Kim also closely followed the police force. Only now could Inspector Park Jae-kyung's teammates investigate and inform her about a girl named Seo In-hai. Seo In-hai was Jang Tae-san's ex-girlfriend 8 years ago. Currently, Seo In-hai is engaged to Officer Im Seong-woo. Seo In-hai was looking for Jang Tae-san because the two had a child together, and the child needed a bone marrow transplant from Jang Tae-san to survive. After a search, the police also found Jang Tae-san's shoes and bloody shirt. Back at the station, they assumed that a person who was wounded and immersed in water for so long must have died. Im Seong-woo couldn't believe that his hand had killed someone. Park Jae-kyung was frantically screaming Jang Tae-san's name by the riverbank. Suddenly, Park Jae-kyung realized something strange. Why would someone about to donate bone marrow to his daughter be ordered to kill someone? Could Jang Tae-san have been framed just like 8 years ago? On the other hand, the media had widely reported on the death of the fugitive criminal, Jang Tae-san. Seo In-hai had also heard the news. She covered her mouth, not daring to cry aloud in front of her daughter. If Jang Tae-san dies, what will her poor daughter do? At this moment, the police are still searching for Jang Tae-san's body downstream. Jang Tae-san was in a truck that appeared right at the checkpoint, but thanks to his excellent disguise skills, the police once again let Jang Tae-san slip through their grasp. Back to last night, the old man wanted to drive Jang Tae-san away, but then he felt pity for Jang Tae-san's unfortunate fate. So the old man decided to help Tan one last time. The old man knew he couldn't keep Jang Tae-san here for long, so he gave Tan the truck and told him to hide in the Philippines. 10 days later, Jang Tae-san would return to donate bone marrow to his daughter. But before crossing the border, Jang Tae-san risked his life to visit his daughter at the hospital. Seeing the frail girl still smiling at him, Jang Tae-san felt immense sorrow. The girl vomited from radiation therapy, but she was understanding and didn't complain. Seo Soo-jin just quietly waved goodbye to her father as her mother pushed her away. Such a good child. How could Jang Tae-san give up his life as he did before? While Seo In-hai was grieving for her daughter, a ray of hope appeared in her life. Jang Tae-san called to reassure her anxious heart. If Jang Tae-san lives, her daughter will also live. Their phone signal was reported to Inspector Park Jae-kyung. Seo In-hai became frantic and begged Jang Tae-san to surrender. But Jang Tae-san told her that he couldn't trust anyone while imprisoned at the police station. He was nearly assassinated. Therefore, the best way to protect his life was to escape. Jang Tae-san decided to cross the border to the Philippines. Hearing this, Seo In-hai said for the first time, "Seo Soo-jin's father, please live." These words motivated Jang Tae-san further. Jang Tae-san hid in the bathroom, continuing his disguise to leave the hospital. When he reached the lobby, Jang Tae-san turned back to look at his daughter just in time to avoid the president. Moon Il-seok had just entered. This old fox was truly evil. He found Seo Soo-jin's hospital room and realized that the girl was Jang Tae-san's daughter. "Are you Jang Tae-san's daughter?" Jo Seo-hee asked the girl. "Yes, my dad just visited me," the girl immediately replied. After hearing this, Chairman Moon Il-seok knew that Jang Tae-san was still alive. As Moon Il-seok and his subordinates left, they met police officer Im Seong-woo and Seo In-hai. Hearing Officer Im Seong-woo say he would visit Seo Soo-jin, Chairman Moon Il-seok paid attention to Im Seong-woo, and Jo Seo-hee and his secretary followed them all the way to the cafe. Seeing Seo In-hai so relieved, Moon Il-seok became even more certain that Jang Tae-san was still alive. Not only Moon Il-seok knew Jang Tae-san was alive, but Inspector Park Jae-kyung, her teammates, and the department head also knew through wiretapping Seo In-hai's phone. Therefore, Inspector Park Jae-kyung led the entire police team to arrest Jang Tae-san, but out of fear that Officer Im Seong-woo would be influenced by personal feelings in his work. Park Jae-kyung confiscated everyone's phones, so he couldn't make contact. They had to quickly intercept the ship to the Philippines before Chairman Moon Il-seok's men could catch Jang Tae-san. After a full day of driving, Jang Tae-san arrived at Busan port. Jang Tae-san left the truck and boarded the boat with the migrants. Jang Tae-san waited for the ship to arrive, unaware that from above, his every move was being monitored by Inspector Park Jae-kyung. At this moment, Jang Tae-san was led below deck and sat in a dark hold. Jang Tae-san endured the pain to sterilize his wound. If this wound became infected, it would affect the bone marrow transplant for his daughter. Just as Jang Tae-san thought everything would go smoothly for him, fate took that luck away. Immediately after, Inspector Park Jae-kyung burst in, pointing her gun and flashlight at Jang Tae-san's face. After many days of hiding, Jang Tae-san was now in police custody. After arresting Jang Tae-san, Inspector Park Jae-kyung returned the phones to her teammates. As soon as he turned on his phone, his colleague immediately called I.M. Seung-woo to inform him that Jang Tae-san was still alive, leaving I.M. Seung-woo stunned on the spot. On this side, two of Chairman Moon Il-seok's henchmen deliberately caused a car accident to create a traffic jam on this road. The car carrying Jang Tae-san had to drive onto the highway. That's also when they fell into Chairman Moon Il-seok's trap. Indeed, while the police car was driving, an oncoming truck nearly crashed into them. Not only that, there was also a sniper in the back of the truck. He fired a smoke bomb at Inspector Park Jae-kyung's car, causing the car to lose control and crash into another vehicle. Those inside were blinded by a smoke bomb. Immediately after, Assassin Kim's henchmen pulled the police out to restrain them. They smashed their phones, cutting off their communication. Jang Tae-san couldn't let himself be killed like that. He tried to escape the car, but Inspector Park Jae-kyung stubbornly held him back. Finally, she was knocked unconscious. Jang Tae-san fell into Assassin Kim's hands. Jang Tae-san was dragged away by them before Inspector Park Jae-kyung's helpless eyes. She quickly called for help from a newly arrived car, then chased after Assassin Kim's group. A moment later, all the police officers regained consciousness. Officer I.M. Seung-woo also drove to the scene. From his colleagues' words, I.M. Seung-woo learned what had happened. As for the criminals, they knew Inspector Park Jae-kyung was following them, so they stopped their car to let her pass first. Meanwhile, they turned back and went in the opposite direction. Although Inspector Park Jae-kyung tried to turn her car around and chase them, she still lost track of them. Park Jae-kyung got out of the car. She was unwilling to let her efforts fall into someone else's hands, so Park Jae-kyung racked her brain, trying to figure out where they might have taken Jang Tae-san. After 5 seconds, she had the answer. By this time, they had taken Jang Tae-san to an abandoned warehouse. Jang Tae-san was tied to a chair. Opposite Jang Tae-san was the evil chairman, so Moon Il-seok didn't beat around the bush. He immediately asked Jang Tae-san where the camera was, just in time to avoid Chairman Moon Il-seok, who had just entered. Only now did Jang Tae-san realize that the camera was not in his friend's hands. That meant there was still a chance to expose SK's crimes. Jang Tae-san used the camera to ensure his survival. If Chairman Moon Il-seok killed him, the camera would also disappear. But Moon Il-seok wasn't that easily fooled. Moon Il-seok intended to torture Jang Tae-san's wound, making him unable to bear it and forcing him to confess. Seeing the wound so well treated, Moon Il-seok couldn't help but be suspicious. So, Moon Il-seok tore open Jang Tae-san's backpack and found a pile of antibiotics. How could a wanted criminal like Jang Tae-san go to a pharmacy to buy these things? Therefore, Chairman Moon Il-seok suspected that someone was helping Jang Tae-san, and that person was also holding the camera, so Soo sent someone to investigate. Meanwhile, outside the warehouse, Inspector Park Jae-kyung found her way there. Unfortunately, she was spotted by one of his men. When Park Jae-kyung fled, she was surrounded by others and had no choice but to fight them. Although Park Jae-kyung had a small build, she was very quick and agile. Park Jae-kyung struggled with 2 men alone. Just when she thought it was over, a madman suddenly rushed in and pushed Park Jae-kyung into a plank, knocking her unconscious on the spot. Inside, Jang Tae-san was also beaten until his mouth bled. This evil man continuously tortured Jang Tae-san's body. After beating him, Moon Il-seok immediately called the female senator to inform her that he had captured both Inspector Park Jae-kyung and Tan. There is truly nothing more evil than women. The chairman only wanted to bring Inspector Park Jae-kyung back and erase all traces here, but Jo Seo-hee wanted to kill Park Jae-kyung to silence her. When Inspector Park Jae-kyung woke up, she was facing the enemy who had killed her father years ago. Park Jae-kyung hated that she couldn't cut him into pieces and dissect him. Chairman Moon Il-seok ordered his men to tape Inspector Park Jae-kyung's mouth, then brought her to Jang Tae-san. Moon Il-seok told Jang Tae-san that the person pursuing Jang Tae-san was the daughter of the man Moon Il-seok had murdered years ago. After speaking, Moon Il-seok gave Jang Tae-san a gun and offered him two choices. One was to shoot Inspector Park Jae-kyung to be free. The second was to die with her. However, Jang Tae-san was ready to hold the gun and aim at Park Jae-kyung. Park Jae-kyung struggled and pleaded, but Jang Tae-san still fired. However, there were no bullets in the gun. Chairman Moon Il-seok immediately scolded Jang Tae-san for his foolishness. Then, Moon Il-seok pointed the gun at Inspector Park Jae-kyung. However, Jang Tae-san quickly yelled that if he shot Kun, the camera's whereabouts would also disappear. Jang Tae-san had anticipated that this old fox would give him a gun without bullets. To prevent Moon Il-seok from killing him, Jang Tae-san cleverly lied that before being murdered, he had given the camera to someone else. Jang Tae-san told that person that if there was no news of him for a few days, they would post it online. This made Chairman Moon Il-seok cautious and forced him to let Jang Tae-san go this time. Then, Chairman Moon Il-seok's subordinates took Jang Tae-san to another room. These guys were no match for Jang Tae-san. Taking advantage of their distraction, Jang Tae-san pulled their ties, making them crash into each other. After just a few moves, Jang Tae-san knocked them all down. Jang Tae-san didn't run away. He knocked over a barrel to make a noise. Then, Jang Tae-san threw a pair of shoes to create a false scene, making them think he had escaped. They were attracted by the noise and ran out to chase him. When only Inspector Park Jae-kyung remained, Jang Tae-san sneaked into the warehouse and stole Chairman Moon Il-seok's car. Then, Jang Tae-san crashed through the wall to rescue Inspector Park Jae-kyung. Finally, they both escaped together. Chairman Moon Il-seok watched helplessly as they got away. He went outside and could only helplessly face his foolish henchmen. Officer I.M. Sung-woo was also on his way searching for Inspector Park Jae-kyung when Jang Tae-san's car passed by, annoying him, and he immediately gave chase. But in an instant, while trying to grab his phone to call for police backup, I.M. Sung-woo lost track of Jang Tae-san. Jang Tae-san drove into a tunnel. He apologized for the case of Park Jae-kyung's father years ago. Then, Jang Tae-san untied Inspector Park Jae-kyung and told her to get out of the car to switch driving positions. When Park Jae-kyung got out, Jang Tae-san immediately pressed the accelerator and drove away. Right now, ensuring one's life was the most important thing. Therefore, Jang Tae-san couldn't entrust his life to others. Inspector Park Jae-kyung immediately ran after him. Fortunately, she met Officer I.M. Sung-woo, who was arriving. Park Jae-kyung quickly jumped into the car and told him to quickly chase after Jang Tae-san. But before the car could leave, they were approached by another car. They were forced to turn around and rush into the bushes to escape. Jang Tae-san jumped onto the boat before Chairman Moon Il-seok's subordinates arrived. Chairman Moon Il-seok called to report the situation to Jo Seo-hee. She feared that if those two escaped, her fraudulent career would be ruined, and the image Jo Seo-hee had worked so hard to build would also collapse. As for Jang Tae-san, he thought that once he was on the boat everything would be fine. But no, the thugs still clung to him like hungry leeches. They used guns to stop the boat and then climbed aboard to control the passengers. A boy recognized Jang Tae-san as a wanted criminal. The boy screamed, forcing Jang Tae-san to jump out of the window and dive into the sea to escape. There was an idiot who bent down into the water to search, so Jang Tae-san pulled him into the water and took the boat. The other two ran up, but Jang Tae-san revved the engine and sped away. They immediately got into the remaining speedboat to chase. They chased and shot, but every shot missed. The two sides pursued each other dramatically. The thugs sped up to block Jang Tae-san, but unexpectedly, Jang Tae-san furiously revved the engine and surged forward, forcing them to swerve to avoid him, causing all three to lose balance and fall into the water. Jang Tae-san seized the opportunity to escape and climb ashore. At the hospital, Inspector Park Jae-kyung regained consciousness, and his colleague was still keeping watch beside him. As soon as Park Jae-kyung woke up, she asked if Jang Tae-san had been caught. When she learned Jang Tae-san hadn't been caught, Park Jae-kyung got out of bed and prepared to return to the police station. At this moment, Im Seung-woo arrived. He pulled Park Jae-kyung to the rooftop and asked if, besides Jang Tae-san's case, there was anything else behind her working so hard, but Inspector Park Jae-kyung didn't say. Im Seung-woo kept asking about Jang Tae-san, forcing Park Jae-kyung to talk about the relationship between Im Seung-woo, Jang Tae-san, and Seo In-hai. Park Jae-kyung thought that Im Seung-woo had shot Jang Tae-san out of jealousy, which made Im Seung-woo unable to continue questioning her. Inspector Park Jae-kyung also said that it was very likely Jang Tae-san had been wrongly accused, which Im Seung-woo couldn't understand. A strange thing suddenly happened, as if heaven itself wanted to help Jang Tae-san. When reporters interviewed the families whose homes Jang Tae-san had broken into, they all said he didn't seem like a criminal. Jang Tae-san was even very kind and didn't harm them. The pregnant woman was still convinced that Jang Tae-san was innocent. When Seo In-hai heard this news, she became even more convinced that her ex-boyfriend was innocent. Seo In-hai recalled her dating period with Jang Tae-san. Jang Tae-san was a quiet but incredibly kind person, which made her heart flutter and made her fall in love with him. On the other hand, Chairman Moon Il-seok had prepared all medical evidence and lawyers, so that if he were caught, he would deny the charges. Jo Seo-hee was also wondering why 24 hours had passed, and Jo Seo-hee still hadn't been arrested. This meant that Inspector Park Jae-kyung wanted to pursue this case to the end, to implicate Jo Seo-hee as well. As for Inspector Park Jae-kyung, the department head came to his house to reprimand him for not issuing an arrest warrant for Chairman Moon Il-seok. But Inspector Park Jae-kyung knew that arresting him would be useless, because he would surely deny the charges. They had to find the incriminating camera to arrest Jo Seo-hee as well, only then would it be worth the effort. At this moment, Jang Tae-san was wandering in the forest in pain. Jang Tae-san was exhausted and collapsed from being tortured all day yesterday. But Jang Tae-san couldn't close his eyes because his daughter was still waiting to be saved. Now Jang Tae-san had to quickly find the camera. Perhaps he could overturn the wrongful case. Jang Tae-san remembered Kaman's girlfriend. The camera was very likely in her hands. At this moment, Kaman's girlfriend was crying and deleting photos with her lover. Her best friend, sitting next to her, snatched the camera and said she wanted to throw it away so her friend could forget the old memories. But she didn't know that inside was a secret that powerful forces were fighting over. Back at the police station, Im Seung-woo also began to consider the possibility that Jang Tae-san was wrongly accused. Im Seung-woo wondered why a killer would shout that he was innocent, why a cold-blooded person would be so well liked by the public on the other hand, and he also silently prayed for Jang Tae-san to survive. She hoped he would escape successfully for his life and for her daughter. The plea indeed woke Jang Tae-san, who was unconscious in the forest. His daughter once again appeared by his side, affirming that Jang Tae-san's current goal in life was her. The next morning, Jang Tae-san sneaked into a local's house to steal some rice, clothes, and shoes. To escape successfully, his stomach needed to be full, his body needed to be warm, and his feet needed to be unharmed. Only then would he have the strength to endure. After that, Jang Tae-san risked himself by running to the gas station. He hid in the compartment of a lumber truck to hitch another ride. Meanwhile, Jo Seo-hee agreed to run for mayor to get involved with the prosecutor's office and suppress Inspector Park Jae-kyung. When they met, Jo Seo-hee unexpectedly accused Park Jae-kyung of being an accomplice to an escaped criminal because a camera had captured her riding in the same car as Jang Tae-san. The police chief was informed about this case, and the police chief told Officer I.M. Sung-woo. I.M. Sung-woo immediately ran out. Jo Seo-hee wanted to publicly announce Inspector Park Jae-kyung's dismissal in front of the prosecutor to avoid affecting the prosecutor's office's image. This left Park Jae-kyung silent with indignation. The department head also arrived to defend Park Jae-kyung. Everyone at the police station knew that she had gone to arrest a criminal and was overpowered by him. But the chief prosecutor didn't want to offend Jo Seo-hee, so he forced Inspector Park Jae-kyung to withdraw from the case. When Park Jae-kyung was at her most helpless, Officer I.M. Sung-woo appeared. I.M. Sung-woo was the police chief's son. Therefore, the prosecutor had to show him some respect. I.M. Sung-woo vouched for Park Jae-kyung, stating that at the time, she was chasing Jang Tae-san along with him. Therefore, the image of her with the criminal was photoshopped. Outside, Inspector Park Jae-kyung thanked Officer I.M. Sung-woo, but she still refused to tell him about her 8 years of injustice. Because I.M. Sung-woo's father was the director, it was very likely that he was involved with the assemblyman. And so I.M. Sung-woo got angry and no longer cared because he would investigate on his own. Back to Jang Tae-san. He was in his old boarding room. Jang Tae-san waited for the police to leave the scene. Then, Jang Tae-san snuck into the house to find the camera. But first, Jang Tae-san had to clean up the blood of his unfortunate best friend, then take a shower to prevent wound infection. After changing into a fresh set of clothes, Jang Tae-san began searching all over the house for the camera, but couldn't find it. Jang Tae-san was sure that the camera was with K-man's girlfriend. Jang Tae-san had to gather some money and food and then leave. As Jang Tae-san left, Inspector Park Jae-kyung and his new colleagues arrived. At this moment, Jang Tae-san was at K-man's girlfriend's store. They were watching Jang Tae-san's wanted news, so Jang Tae-san couldn't act rashly right now. Jang Tae-san had to call his ex-girlfriend to let her know he was okay, so she wouldn't worry. Then Jang Tae-san arranged to meet her at the shopping mall and asked Seo In-hai to help him get something. Seo In-hai agreed, but their conversation was overheard by Inspector Park Jae-kyung and her team. They were sure that it was a digital camera. So Inspector Park Jae-kyung immediately told the police team that they would set up a stakeout at 3 p.m. tomorrow to catch Jang Tae-san and retrieve the camera. The next day, Seo In-hai arrived at the shopping mall. As promised, undercover police were stationed in every corner. Unexpectedly, every move Seo In-hai made was being watched by Killer Kim. Killer Kim also sensed it and wanted to fight the police. Killer Kim had also spotted Jang Tae-san. It's true not to fear a strong enemy, just fear teammates in jeans with bovine brains. When Seo In-hai arrived at the children's counter, the police officer in jeans told her that they were ambushing a fugitive, and it would be very chaotic, telling her to go home first. Seo In-hai knew they were going to catch Jang Tae-san, so she quickly ran away. Seo In-hai pleaded with Jang Tae-san not to come here. Meanwhile, Inspector Park Jae-kyung had also spotted Jang Tae-san, so she immediately informed her teammates to track Jang Tae-san. I.M. Seong-woo saw his fiancée there and guessed that she was going to meet her ex-boyfriend. The police immediately went on high alert and even surrounded the shopping mall to control entry and exit. Jang Tae-san saw that the situation was not good, so he retreated, and Killer Kim also began to act. Seo In-hai received a call from Jang Tae-san and immediately returned to the hospital. Inside, the crowd of police had narrowed down the suspect, but when they caught the masked suspect and took off the mask, it was a completely different face. The real Jang Tae-san had gotten out, and Killer Kim was hot on his trail. Thanks to the mirror of a passing car, Jang Tae-san spotted his pursuer who had already prepared a knife to kill Jang Tae-san. Jang Tae-san knew he was very strong and that if he fought him head-on, he would only lose. Therefore, Jang Tae-san decided to talk like two men, but Killer Kim didn't seem very friendly, as Jang Tae-san didn't bother to answer anything. Jang Tae-san said he had to try to escape. Just as the assassin was about to catch Jang Tae-san, while crossing the road, Killer Kim was hit by a car and was slowed down. Jang Tae-san took that opportunity to run onto the bus. Killer Kim also got on the bus, but Jang Tae-san was more cunning. He jumped out of the glass window and landed safely. Killer Kim wanted to chase, but he remembered his father's words not to act strangely in crowded places. To avoid drawing attention, he had to give up. As soon as Seo In-hai returned to the hospital, Jang Tae-san hugged her and hid in a corner. She pulled him to a safe place to talk. Jang Tae-san said that Seo In-hai's phone had been tapped. Therefore, all of Jang Tae-san's actions were easily detected. At this moment, Officer I.M. Seung-woo also arrived at the hospital to see Seo In-hai. I.M. Seung-woo asked her why she lied to him and contacted her ex-boyfriend. Seo In-hai was cornered and could only tell I.M. Seung-woo that the bone marrow donor for her daughter was Jang Tae-san. If anything happened to Jang Tae-san, Seo Soo-jin would have difficulty living. On the other hand, Jang Tae-san had left but suddenly remembered the ribbon he intended to give his daughter. So, Jang Tae-san turned back to the hospital. That's why Jang Tae-san encountered police officer I.M. Seung-woo. In the hospital room, little Seo Soo-jin was still marking each passing day with the hope of living. Seo In-hai quickly hugged Officer I.M. Seung-woo so that Jang Tae-san could escape. Jang Tae-san also immediately ran at full speed. I.M. Seung-woo was helpless because his fiancée treated him that way. He asked Seo In-hai why she didn't trust him. If I.M. Seung-woo knew that Jang Tae-san was the bone marrow donor, he could protect Seo Soo-jin's last hope. Seo In-hai could only cry and apologize. Jang Tae-san had just found out that Seo In-hai's fiancé was police officer I.M. Seung-woo, who had been relentlessly pursuing him. The humiliation and shame of his ex-girlfriend and Seo In-hai's new lover made Jang Tae-san burst into tears. Seo In-hai must have been very ashamed. Seo In-hai must have endured that shame many years ago because of Chairman Moon Il-seok's threats. Jang Tae-san had to grit his teeth and bear it. He swallowed his resentment so that Moon Il-seok would not harm Seo In-hai. Unexpectedly, that became an obstacle for Seo In-hai. Now, on the other hand, Chairman Moon Il-seok began to doubt whether Jang Tae-san truly cared about that daughter. Even while on the run, Jang Tae-san secretly visited his daughter. If that was true, it would be too easy for Jo Seo-hee. He would use the child to threaten Jang Tae-san again. Soon after, he sent someone to the hospital to investigate the child's surgery date. Here, the inspector asked to meet Seo In-hai, seeing that Seo In-hai was still hesitant. Inspector Park Jae-kyung admitted that she knew everything about Seo In-hai and Jang Tae-san's relationship. Park Jae-kyung also believed that Jang Tae-san was wrongly accused and ambushed, so she escaped. But now escaping is the most dangerous thing. Park Jae-kyung wanted Seo In-hai to advise Jang Tae-san to surrender because only the police could protect Jang Tae-san. As long as there was a camera, anyone who threatened Jang Tae-san would have to be careful. Seo In-hai immediately asked what the camera was. Park Jae-kyung didn't explain much, but only emphasized that the police would protect Jang Tae-san until Seo Soo-jin's surgery day, so that both would be safe. Park Jae-kyung also revealed to Seo In-hai that 8 years ago, Jang Tae-san was forced to take the blame for the chairman to protect Seo In-hai. Knowing this truth, Seo In-hai was shocked and trembled. It turned out he left her because he wanted to protect her. But for the past 8 years, Seo In-hai had resented him and prevented Jang Tae-san from seeing his daughter. When Park Jae-kyung returned, I.M. Seung-woo questioned her why she didn't tell him that Seo Soo-jin's bone marrow donor was Jang Tae-san. Park Jae-kyung explained that Seo In-hai had to tell. If Seo In-hai didn't want to tell, she wouldn't interfere. Police officer I.M. Sung-woo gradually realized the hidden story behind this. Someone wanted to frame Jang Tae-san, and that person kidnapped Inspector Park Jae-kyung the day before because I.M. Sung-woo was the section chief's son. Park Jae-kyung didn't believe him, but if I.M. Sung-woo was curious now, Park Jae-kyung would reveal it to him too. Those two people were Mrs. Jo Seo-hee and Mr. So. I.M. Seong-woo gradually believed that Jang Tae-san was indeed wrongly accused. Therefore, when he returned to the station, he ordered his subordinates to reinvestigate all documents related to the case. On the other hand, Chairman Moon Il-seok also knew Seo Soo-jin's surgery date. Moon Il-seok said that the person who was always timid and obedient like Jang Tae-san was now so strong because of his daughter. However, Seo Soo-jin's surgery date was also the date of Moon Il-seok and Soo-hee's fake exhibition. Therefore, the most urgent task was to find the footage. After investigating Mr. Moon Il-seok, police officer I.M. Sung-woo immediately discovered the danger. Moon Il-seok was at the hospital where Seo Soo-jin was being treated. So I.M. Sung-woo immediately went to see this old man and told Moon Il-seok that Seo Soo-jin was his daughter, implying that he wanted to remind Moon Il-seok not to have any ideas of harming the little girl. The old man smiled on the surface, but was actually hating him. Moon Il-seok bluntly stated that what he needed was the camera. I.M. Seong-woo remembered that Park Jae-kyung had told him that the camera recorded the illicit relationship between Moon Il-seok and Jo Seo-hee. Only with the camera could he send them to jail. After directly warning Moon Il-seok and calling him a dog, I.M. Seong-woo returned to the police station. He immediately called his subordinates to guard the hospital where Seo Soo-jin and her mother were to ensure their safety. When Seo In-hai appeared, I.M. Seong-woo said he believed Jang Tae-san was innocent. Therefore, if Jang Tae-san appeared, Seo In-hai should immediately advise him to surrender. Only then could the bone marrow be preserved for Seo Soo-jin's surgery. The two advised her this way, causing Seo In-hai to start hesitating elsewhere, so he suddenly had a disabled son. After the auction ended, she would collect the money and fly abroad with her son to live. But before that, if the auction was to be successful, Jo Seo-hee had to use her power to dominate the market. Upon hearing this news, Chairman Moon Il-seok immediately disagreed, because they were in the same boat without notifying him of anything. Jo Seo-hee would surely abandon Moon Il-seok and escape alone. Therefore, Mr. Moon Il-seok ordered his subordinates to secretly investigate the date. Jo Seo-hee planned to go abroad. Returning to Jang Tae-san, he continued to call for a meeting. Jang Tae-san thought that the hospital's landline was not tapped, but unexpectedly, their conversation was still transmitted to Inspector Park Jae-kyung. The meeting place and time were both known to Park Jae-kyung and her superiors. Park Jae-kyung intended to inform the police, but Park Jae-kyung suspected that there was an internal mole in the police station because all her plans were discovered by Killer Kim. So this time, Park Jae-kyung would only tell the police she trusted. It was 3 p.m., and Seo In-hai followed the meeting point to the third car. The train was crowded, so Seo In-hai didn't realize that she was being followed by I.M. Seong-woo and someone else outside. There was a team of prosecutors disguised as passengers under the command of Inspector Dong and Park Jae-kyung. Passengers got on and off the train like ants, but Seo In-hai still stood there waiting for Jang Tae-san. At the second stop, she got off the train and immediately ran back, setting a trap for the police officer who was following her. At the third stop, Seo In-hai immediately ran away, but I.M. Seong-woo was close behind. Seo In-hai got into the taxi that Jang Tae-san had ordered and left right in front of the police. I.M. Seong-woo also grabbed a passerby's car to give chase. In the station, the prosecutors were tricked by Seo In-hai and could only look at each other. At this moment, Seo In-hai had arrived at Koman's girlfriend's shop. Seo In-hai lied that she was the owner of the camera and was now here to retrieve it. However, this girl was very careless, borrowing someone else's camera but giving it to her best friend to discard. The girl quickly called her best friend to ask where she had thrown the camera, then gave her best friend's address and phone number to a K. Before leaving, Seo In-hai also followed Jang Tae-san's words and gave Karan's engagement ring to his girlfriend and fulfilled the unfortunate guy's last wish. Looking at the ring, Seo In-hai suddenly remembered 8 years ago, on Jang Tae-san's birthday, she had also given him a ring along with a letter. Jang Tae-san still kept the letter, and that memory was still deeply etched in her heart. As soon as Seo In-hai left the coffee shop, I.M. Sung-woo ran in and asked Khan's girlfriend what Seo In-hai had said. At this moment, Seo In-hai was supposed to be at the coffee shop to meet Jang Tae-san, but because she had to retrieve the camera from the other girl, Seo In-hai quickly borrowed the driver's phone to text Jang Tae-san. Afterward, Seo In-hai was at the coffee shop and borrowed a customer's phone to call Jang Tae-san and tell him to follow her. Finally, the two successfully got into the car. At this moment, Seo In-hai informed Ko, man's girlfriend, that she did not have the camera. It turned out her best friend had sold the camera to a student, and now they would go to that student's address. But Jang Tae-san asked Seo In-hai to give him the address and stop the car, because he didn't want her to be dragged into this. Seo In-hai drove to a secluded place, but she refused to give the address because that student wouldn't get out of school until evening. Therefore, Jang Tae-san couldn't wander around. Sitting in the car, Jang Tae-san apologized for making Seo In-hai feel awkward in front of her fiancé yesterday. If Jang Tae-san had known I.M. Sung-woo was Seo In-hai's fiancé, Jang Tae-san would not have dared to ask her for help. But Seo In-hai didn't care, because if she didn't help, who else could Jang Tae-san ask for help? Seo In-hai got out of the car and burst into tears. Seo In-hai said she knew that he had gone to jail 8 years ago. If Jang Tae-san hadn't taken the blame for someone else, would he have abandoned her and her child? Jang Tae-san didn't know what to say when he heard that. Jang Tae-san didn't want Seo In-hai to misunderstand that she was a burden to him because he had lost track of Seo In-hai. I.M. Sung-woo could only go to the hospital to talk to Seo Soo-jin. Sam-woo told the little girl a love story between him and her mother, and at the same time, Soo asked Seo Soo-jin if he was qualified to be her father. It can be seen that I.M. Sung-woo truly loved Seo In-hai and considered her child as his own. At this moment, something unexpected happened. Koman's girlfriend listened to her best friend and said that the girl who came to pick up the camera was an accomplice of Kaman's killer, so the two of them called the police to report the address where Jang Tae-san would pick up the camera. On this side, Jang Tae-san gave Seo In-hai the ribbon he intended to give his daughter. Then, Jang Tae-san got out of the car and followed the address to find that student. Jang Tae-san had called him beforehand, and that student was very cooperative in helping Jang Tae-san retrieve the camera. Now that the camera was in Jang Tae-san's hands, Seo In-hai was very happy, but they didn't know that the police chief was leading people to arrest Jang Tae-san. When Seo In-hai overheard the call between the student and the police chief, she was worried about Jang Tae-san. On this side, Jang Tae-san looked through the items on the camera but found nothing. Was the video deleted? While Jang Tae-san was frustrated, he was suddenly ambushed by Killer Kim, who had sensed his way here. Jang Tae-san resisted but did not fight back. Killer Kim threw him to the ground and brazenly stole his camera. Then, Killer Kim did not forget to choke Jang Tae-san to silence him. While Jang Tae-san was about to die, Seo In-hai chased after them. Seo In-hai used a roadside billboard to fight against the killer. When Seo In-hai wanted to retrieve the camera, he accidentally grabbed her hair. Seeing his beloved treated this way, Jang Tae-san got angry and kicked Killer Kim. But Killer Kim was very strong. Killer Kim punched Jang Tae-san once and then kicked him in the neck. Seo In-hai hugged Killer Kim's leg and begged, but his face remained expressionless. Fortunately, at the critical moment, I.M. Sung-woo drove in pursuit, forcing Killer Kim to flee. Jang Tae-san also wanted to chase, but he was afraid that Seo In-hai would get into trouble. Unexpectedly, I.M. Sung-woo allowed Jang Tae-san to escape because the police chief was about to arrive. They would not believe Jang Tae-san was innocent. Jang Tae-san had no choice but to flee with his cowardice, and Im Sung-woo also pulled his lover into the car and retreated. Jang Tae-san thought he had escaped the killer, but no, Killer Kim was waiting for him ahead. The battle continued. Jang Tae-san drove towards him. Then, Killer Kim jumped in. Killer Kim then scraped Jang Tae-san's car door, forcing Jang Tae-san to reverse. Killer Kim also approached step by step, but only to threaten for fun. He let Jang Tae-san run to a secluded place. Jang Tae-san slapped himself, blaming himself for being useless for losing the camera. Seo In-hai returned to the hospital and met Inspector Park Jae-kyung. When Inspector Park Jae-kyung learned that the camera was lost, she also broke down like Jang Tae-san. After Seo In-hai returned to her ward with her daughter, Seo In-hai discovered that the picture in her daughter's hand was a photo of her with her ex-boyfriend. Seo Soo-jin woke up and immediately took back the photo. The innocent little girl said that her mother had torn and thrown away the photo, so she picked it up and glued it back together, and now it was hers. It turned out that Seo Soo-jin longed to meet her biological father so much, but before that, when there was an opportunity, she forbade the father and daughter from meeting. Seo In-hai was not angry, but she returned the gift that Jang Tae-san had given her daughter. In another scene, the camera fell into the hands of old man Moon Il-seok, who ordered Jang Tae-san's life to be taken and Park Jae-kyung to be dealt with. Moon Il-seok's auction must be completed. Park Jae-kyung had lost the camera, therefore she now focused all her attention on the charity auction because she was sure there was a problem with this auction. The reason Park Jae-kyung wasn't overly worried about the camera was because the data needed her iris scan to view its contents. However, Park Jae-kyung did not know that Chairman Seo had hired a professional programmer to retrieve the camera's hardware and put it into another device. Indeed, Seok was able to view the conversation between her and Ms. Jo Seo-hee. On the other hand, Jang Tae-san called Park Jae-kyung. He asked her to meet secretly. A moment later, Park Jae-kyung was at the meeting point. In front of her was Jang Tae-san. Jang Tae-san asked what Misuk's relationship with Moon Il-seok was. Why did Moon Il-seok kill Misuk and blame him? What was in that camera? Park Jae-kyung only said that inside the camera was evidence to incriminate Moon Il-seok. After that, Park Jae-kyung thanked Jang Tae-san for saving her the day before. To repay the favor, Park Jae-kyung gave Jang Tae-san a wig and glasses to disguise himself as her friend. Then, Park Jae-kyung led Jang Tae-san into her house, intending to treat him to a good meal. When Jang Tae-san saw Park Jae-kyung's 8-year investigation board, she was extremely surprised. For 8 years, she had lived in hatred. On the other hand, Chairman Moon Il-seok brought the camera and chip to Ms. Jo Seo-hee. She did not bother to view the contents inside and immediately destroyed the chip. Back to Jang Tae-san. He had not eaten a decent meal for many days, so Jang Tae-san was trying to eat as much as he could. Then, Jang Tae-san showed Park Jae-kyung a portrait of the man who had been chasing Jang Tae-san these past few days. He was also the one who stabbed Park Jae-kyung that day. Jang Tae-san said that day was the day he received the test results from the hospital, so he was in a hurry. When Misuk came to give him the camera, Jang Tae-san casually put it in his pocket. After returning from the hospital, Jang Tae-san was lured to the warehouse. When Jang Tae-san woke up, Misuk had been killed. Now, if they wanted to catch Jo Seo-hee, they could only let him catch Jang Tae-san first. At this time, SK's people had also spread out to different areas. They looked for Jang Tae-san among the homeless and even followed Park Jae-kyung. Park Jae-kyung went to see Officer Im Sung-woo to tell him that there must be an informant in the police station. Therefore, Park Jae-kyung and Jang Tae-san devised a plan, which was to invite the remaining members of the team for a drink. Then, she pretended to have a stomachache and ran into the restroom. As soon as Park Jae-kyung left, her phone rang. There were 2 or 3 calls and messages. Inspector Park Jae-kyung would run out and pretend to be panicked to answer the phone. The person on the other end of the line tried to shout Jang Tae-san's name loudly to attract attention. If one of the 3 policemen was an informant, they would definitely be curious. Then, Park Jae-kyung continued to run into the restroom. She waited for the curious person to follow. Park Jae-kyung deliberately spoke loudly on the phone about Jang Tae-san turning himself in. Then, Park Jae-kyung returned to the table and used the excuse of having something to do at home to leave early. Park Jae-kyung's accomplices, sitting at the opposite table, already knew who was following her. At this moment, the news of Jang Tae-san turning himself in reached Chairman Moon Il-seok. Moon Il-seok immediately ordered Killer Kim to kill him to silence him, not to let Jang Tae-san fall into the hands of the police. Therefore, the subordinates also followed Killer Kim and her prosecutor's office. Killer Kim had arrived at the meeting point in advance to lie in wait. But Killer Kim did not know that he was gradually stepping into Jang Tae-san and Park Jae-kyung's battleground, because police and prosecutors were ambushing everywhere in the building. Jang Tae-san followed the plan, arriving at the meeting point at exactly 5 o'clock. Killer Kim only waited to shoot and make Jang Tae-san fall. Inspector Park Jae-kyung immediately shouted Jang Tae-san's name, which was also the signal for the entire team to act. Everyone immediately rushed out to arrest Killer Kim. He thought he was clever, using a drone to move the rifle away, and that was it. But who would have thought that as soon as Killer Kim exited the main door to escape, he was ambushed by the police, shot with many tranquilizer darts, and fainted on the spot. At this moment, little Seo Soo-jin was still full of hope. The little girl crossed out days, hoping to meet her father. On this side, Jang Tae-san, wearing a bulletproof vest, also opened his eyes. Killer Kim was in Inspector Park Jae-kyung's hands. Chairman Moon Il-seok called Killer Kim to ask about the situation. As soon as he heard Killer Kim's voice, Moon Il-seok fearfully hung up. Meanwhile, Jang Tae-san was fleeing from I.M. Seong-woo's pursuit. I.M. Seong-woo didn't actually want to put Jang Tae-san in jail. He just wanted to ask him one thing. Only when he heard his daughter's name did Jang Tae-san reveal himself. On this side, after falling into police custody, Killer Kim did not say a word. When they took his fingerprints, Park Jae-kyung was surprised because he did not have Korean nationality. Therefore, Park Jae-kyung had no right to arrest him, but had to contact foreign police to arrest him. After talking with Jang Tae-san, I.M. Seong-woo angrily burst into the house and grabbed Jo Seo-hee because he had taken the camera and wanted to kill people. It turned out that to save Seo Soo-jin, I.M. Seong-woo had agreed with Moon Il-seok to bring the camera back to him. Otherwise, Moon Il-seok would kill Jang Tae-san and Seo Soo-jin. Therefore, when running into Kaiman's girlfriend's store, I.M. Seong-woo asked about the camera. Then I.M. Seong-woo went out and messaged Moon Il-seok the address, but I.M. Seong-woo did not expect that he had fallen into Moon Il-seok's trap. Moon Il-seok only made empty promises and did not keep his word. Moon Il-seok even threatened I.M. Seong-woo with this. If Seo In-hai knew that he was the one who revealed the location of the camera to me, how would she react? You should handle the situation yourself. On the other hand, Killer Kim's lawyer arrived to present identification documents. Killer Kim was a Frenchman who came to Korea to learn Korean and take photos. Furthermore, Killer Kim had no gun to kill anyone, and Jang Tae-san's body was not found, so the police could not charge him. The phone that contacted Chairman Moon Il-seok was picked up by Killer Kim. With just a few simple lies, Killer Kim was released, leaving Inspector Park Jae-kyung helpless. This time, the police considered their efforts wasted. Therefore, she had to return home to inform Jang Tae-san that the mission had failed. This guy is really too meticulous. He is a foreigner, so it is even harder to act. Jang Tae-san had no choice but to devise another plan to retrieve the camera, because he knew that Moon Il-seok was the one who must know others' secrets. Moon Il-seok would not destroy the camera, because inside it was evidence to incriminate both him and Ms. Jo Seo-hee. If so, he dared to betray him. There was something to save her life. Jang Tae-san planned to go to Jo Seo-hee's house to find the camera. First, Jang Tae-san had to understand the structure of the place. Therefore, Jang Tae-san had to find someone who had been there before to help. No one else but Old Man Han. But Jang Tae-san's figure was seen by someone and reported to the boss. Jo Seo-hee immediately sent him to check. When he arrived, it was too late. Jang Tae-san had already left. Jo Seo-hee could only vent his anger on his subordinates at the pawn shop. The two subordinates were scared, so they told about the deaths of Moon Il-seok and Misuk, but they didn't know that Jang Tae-san had planted a bug. The next morning, Jang Tae-san drove the car Park Jae-kyung lent him to go meet Mr. Han. The two went to a small restaurant to eat. After that, they started discussing the layout of Mr. Jo Seo-hee's house and discovered that they had used a wall heater to hide the basement door. In another scene, both Inspector Dong and Officer I.M. Suong-woo appeared in front of Misuk's house. There was a car parked there for a long time. Fortunately, the car owner's wife, who lived nearby, showed them the dashcam footage. In the video, Moon Il-seok's car appeared in front of Misuk's house on the day she was murdered. Soon after, Park Jae-kyung led people to publicly arrest the chairman, so he also immediately received a call reporting the news. She suddenly feared that Moon Il-seok would drag her to jail with him. Sitting in front of the interrogation table, despite watching the video of his car parked in front of Misuk's house, Moon Il-seok knew that Lee did not have close-up photos of him entering the house, so he was still happy. Tan also knew Moon Il-seok had been arrested. He and Mr. Han had prepared tools to break into Chairman Moon Il-seok's house. Mr. Han pretended to be a junk buyer, while Jang Tae-san hid in a pile of papers to fool the bodyguards. Meanwhile, Inspector Park Jae-kyung was also trying to hold back Jo Seo-hee. Jang Tae-san successfully broke into Jo Seo-hee's yard. Then, he used a special machine. Jang Tae-san secretly drilled and successfully opened the doorknob. But inside, Jang Tae-san met Moon Il-seok with assassin Kim beside him. Moon Il-seok was pleased that Jang Tae-san had been tricked by him. He told Jang Tae-san that when Park Jae-kyung interrogated him, he was called to see the department head. The department head wanted Park Jae-kyung to release Moon Il-seok first, and then ask the judge for an arrest warrant. Otherwise, Park Jae-kyung would be sued by him for unlawful arrest. At the same time, Ms. Jo Seo-hee went to see the judge. Based on his reputation, the judge believed that Chairman Moon Il-seok had indeed had dinner with her that day. When Park Jae-kyung returned to the room, Moon Il-seok was no longer there. It turned out that the arrest warrant had also been rejected by the judge. Therefore, Moon Il-seok was released. Inspector Park Jae-kyung immediately wanted to contact Jang Tae-san to stop his actions, but he didn't answer her call. Park Jae-kyung's car was also blocked by another car, so she was forced to take a taxi. Unexpectedly, this taxi had also been bribed. In the middle of the road, the taxi broke down, so Jang Tae-san fell into the chairman's hands. Therefore, Jang Tae-san wanted to escape, but was easily subdued by assassin Kim. Jang Tae-san begged the old man not to kill him, because in just 3 days, he would donate bone marrow to his daughter. At that time, Moon Il-seok could torture him however he pleased. Jang Tae-san even hugged Moon Il-seok's leg and begged him, but Moon Il-seok remained ruthless and ordered assassin Kim to cover Jang Tae-san with anesthetic, knocking Jang Tae-san unconscious. Meanwhile, Mr. Han was outside for a long time without receiving a call from Jang Tae-san, so he got out of the car to check. Only then did Mr. Han realize that Jang Tae-san had been knocked unconscious by assassin Kim and locked in the trunk of the car. As Mr. Han pulled the paper cart past, he deliberately threw the knife inside so Jang Tae-san could escape. But before Jang Tae-san could wake up, assassin Kim arrived. He opened the trunk and took the knife into the elevator. Assassin Kim intended to go to the rooftop to fake a scene by jumping from the building. Ms. Han was still driving behind and knew of this intention. Ms. Han immediately called the police, reporting that someone wanted to jump from the top of the pole. At the same time, assassin Kim untied the ropes and tried to push Jang Tae-san down the stairs, but Jang Tae-san resisted him with all his might. Jang Tae-san took a pen as a weapon, but he was still subdued by assassin Kim, who broke his arm, causing him to drop the weapon. Jang Tae-san's will to survive suddenly surged. He choked assassin Kim, and assassin Kim choked him. The two choked each other, but a father's strength still prevailed. Jang Tae-san choked assassin Kim until he passed out, but unexpectedly, he played a trick. Assassin Kim waited for Jang Tae-san to let his guard down and dragged him to the edge of the rooftop. Jang Tae-san tried to grab Assassin Kim's hand and begged, but it was in vain. Fortunately, old Mr. Han appeared. Upon seeing Assassin Kim, he suddenly called him son. Taking advantage of the moment, Assassin Kim turned to look at the old man. Jang Tae-san kicked him and pulled the old man to run. Because the mission failed, Assassin Kim was slapped multiple times by Chairman Su, making him dazed. However, he remained obedient and did not resist or make excuses. On the other hand, police officer I.M. Sung-woo confessed to Seo In-hai that the camera incident was due to him revealing the location to Moon Il-seok because I.M. Sung-woo had trusted the wrong person. He believed that Moon Il-seok would not kill Jang Tae-san if he had the camera. But now, I.M. Sung-woo realized that he had been too naive. In the hospital room, unable to see her mother, Seo Soo-jin took her mother's phone and opened it to look. As soon as she saw the name, Tan, the little girl knew it was her father, so she immediately called him. Receiving Seo In-hai's call, Jang Tae-san was extremely worried, but when he heard his daughter's voice, he felt much more relieved. After Jang Tae-san finished talking to his daughter, Mr. Han also woke up. Miss Han told Jang Tae-san that she had lost a son before. He looked very much like the current killer, Assassin Kim, so he couldn't leave, but had to stay for further confirmation, returning to Seo In-hai because he couldn't control Jang Tae-san. Mr. Moon Il-seok had shifted his target to Seo In-hai. Moon Il-seok went to the store to threaten Seo In-hai. When Seo In-hai went out to text for help, she was anesthetized and kidnapped by a stranger in a hat. Jang Tae-san threw a smoke bomb into the pawn shop, causing his two henchmen to choke and flee. After that, Jang Tae-san immediately snuck in and took the recorder from earlier. I.M. Sung-woo was informed of Seo In-hai's kidnapping. The remaining police officers responsible for protecting Seo In-hai were also frantically searching for her. Upon receiving the news, Park Jae-kyung immediately informed Jang Tae-san. Before Jang Tae-san could cry, Seo In-hai called him and showed him a scene of her tied up. Jang Tae-san's anger immediately erupted. On the other end of the line, a man's voice threatened Jang Tae-san to come to the rendezvous point alone first, or Seo In-hai would be dealt with. The person holding the phone was Assassin Kim. Assassin Kim then played a recording of Seo In-hai speaking. Seo In-hai immediately ordered Jang Tae-san not to come here, or he could be in danger and his daughter's life would be hard to save. When the phone hung up, Jang Tae-san was distraught between two choices. One was the person he loved most, and the other was his pitiful daughter. Who should Jang Tae-san choose? After calming down, Jang Tae-san was certain that this problem would be solved. Jang Tae-san called Park Jae-kyung to inform her that Seo In-hai had been kidnapped. Now, Jang Tae-san would send Park Jae-kyung the video of the recent call for her to watch. In Seo In-hai's pupil was the killer's face. Park Jae-kyung quickly realized that the kidnapper was Assassin Kim. Jang Tae-san remembered that two workers had previously taken a photo of Assassin Kim's license plate, so he immediately called I.M. Sung-woo to investigate. They used technology to zoom in and blur the license plate. What appeared before his eyes was a French car. The address was at a nearby photo studio. Police officer I.M. Sung-woo immediately went there. As for Jang Tae-san, to ensure In-hai's safety, he followed Assassin Kim's instructions to drive to the rendezvous point. Jang Tae-san had to get into the car he had prepared, and he had to drive according to the route programmed into the car. Meanwhile, to enter the hospital, Chairman Moon Il-seok had his men give the security guards and nurses drinks laced with sleeping pills. They all fell sound asleep for a while, so Moon Il-seok could freely enter and exit the hospital without fear of being seen. As for the camera, he would deal with it later. Moon Il-seok went to see little Seo Soo-jin, who didn't know he was a devil, so she happily talked to him. Moon Il-seok said he would take Seo Soo-jin to see her father, thus tricking the little girl out. Meanwhile, Jang Tae-san gradually realized these people's plot. They kidnapped Seo In-hai to lure the police away from the hospital to snatch Seo Soo-jin. Jang Tae-san immediately turned his car in the opposite direction. At this moment, I.M. Seung-woo to avoid his surveillance. Suk took the delivery man's car and drove off. At the hospital, Seo Soo-jin suddenly remembered her father's warning that she could only stay with her mother and not go with strangers. So Seo Soo-jin quickly dropped her slipper and asked Mr. Moon Il-seok to pick it up. Taking advantage of the opportunity, when he went to pick up the slipper, Seo Soo-jin ran into the elevator to the upper floor. She tried to wake the doctor, but couldn't. Seeing something was wrong, Seo Soo-jin ran away again, but saw that she was being chased to where Seo Soo-jin was hiding. He was also worried that Seo Soo-jin would easily get infected because she had been out of the sterile room for too long. But Seo Soo-jin was very clever. She constantly changed hiding places to avoid being caught. But when Seo Soo-jin hid in the wardrobe, the door was left ajar, which helped Mr. Jo Seo-hee realized that by this time, Jang Tae-san had rushed to the hospital to save his daughter. Seeing all the doctors and nurses unconscious and his daughter's shoe on the floor, he knew something bad had happened. Upstairs, when Mr. State Moon Il-seok was about to grab Seo Soo-jin, Jang Tae-san ran over and shouted his daughter's name, forcing Moon Il-seok to temporarily hide. Seeing her father, Seo Soo-jin immediately ran out. Jang Tae-san was worried that he would infect her, so he asked his daughter to quickly go into the sterile room. The little girl obediently complied. Immediately after, Jang Tae-san saw Moon Il-seok fleeing. Park Jae-kyung also ran over. Jang Tae-san quickly handed his daughter to Park Jae-kyung and angrily chased after the scoundrel. Without Assassin Kim guarding him, Moon Il-seok was just an old man. So when Jang Tae-san chased him, he had to flee. When Moon Il-seok ran to the rooftop and had no escape, Moon Il-seok had to turn and fight Jang Tae-san. He was weak. So Jang Tae-san punched him a few times and pushed him to the edge of the railing. However, Jang Tae-san didn't kill him because doing so would be too easy for him. Jang Tae-san wanted to put him in prison to lose his freedom as he had done to others. Moon Il-seok, having just escaped death, taunted Jang Tae-san that he was weak and dared not kill. Today, Jang Tae-san spared him. That would be the most foolish decision in Jang Tae-san's life. In another scene, I.M. Seung-woo found the photo studio where Seo In-hae was imprisoned. Only 2 henchmen were guarding the door outside. He easily dealt with them. One thug wanted to use a knife, but they saw they couldn't stand against guns, so they fled. I.M. Seung-woo successfully entered and rescued a trembling Seo In-hae. Seo In-hae, Park Jae-kyung called Jang Tae-san to inform him that Seo In-hae was safe. She also arranged for Jang Tae-san to enter the sterile room to talk to his daughter. The little girl's smile was still sweet, innocent and pure as ever. Seo Soo-jin was extremely happy to see her biological father again. After that, they spent time telling each other funny stories. Before leaving, Jang Tae-san broke down in tears. He had a daughter, but he had to meet her secretly like this. In the hospital lobby, I.M. Seung-woo brought Seo In-hae to see her daughter. Seeing Seo In-hae safe, Jang Tae-san was relieved, and Seo Soo-jin excitedly told her mother that thanks to her father, the evil person couldn't catch her. After meeting her daughter, Seo In-hae felt relieved after meeting Jang Tae-san. She forgave him for abandoning her and her mother for the past 8 years. Then, Seo In-hae made an appointment to meet Jang Tae-san again in 3 days to donate bone marrow to her daughter. At that time, she agreed to let the father and daughter meet. Jang Tae-san promised that he would be there on time on that day. After that, Jang Tae-san played the recording he had attached to the pawn shop for Park Jae-kyung, which captured a conversation between his former subordinates. But this alone was not enough to catch the old man. Jang Tae-san continued to sneak into Jo Seo-hee's house. Every 5 minutes, exactly at 12 o'clock, she would turn off all the lights for Jang Tae-san to sneak in through the back door. Behind it was a large garden. She was enjoying a happy life, not living in a miserable rented house as people rumored. At Mr. Moon Il-seok's house, just as Miss Han said, his house had a secret tunnel. Moon Il-seok went down to the basement to open the safe and take out some money. He planned to send an assassin to kill Jang Tae-san once again. On the other hand, Jang Tae-san, showed Mr. Han the biographical information that the police had found about Assassin Kim. Assassin Kim was born in 1985. He was part of the French Foreign Legion, so he had French citizenship. Mr. Han recounted that he used to make a living as an assassin, but he didn't want his son to be the same. So Han gave his son a fountain pen, with his son's name engraved on it. One day, his son suddenly disappeared, but the strange thing was that no one came to demand ransom. Thus, Han lost his son and the old man still kept the pen. The scene changed. Jang Tae-san called Moon Il-seok's company. Jang Tae-san played the recording of his men, telling Jo Seo-hee that he was the one who killed Misuk. If things went bad, Moon Il-seok intended to send one of the three to prison instead, but now that the recording was in Jang Tae-san's hands, he couldn't continue that move. Then Jang Tae-san called Moon Il-seok's man Hang. He said that when I was arrested at SK's house, Moon Il-seok said he would kill me and then blame Hwang to go to jail instead. This made Hwang begin to fear. Soon after, Hwang was called back by Mr. Jo Seo-hee, but he was not angry. Instead, he gave Hwang a large sum of money to kill Jang Tae-san. Jang Tae-san foresaw this move, so when Hwang arrived, he recounted every single word of his persuasion without missing a word. Then, Jang Tae-san played this recording for Hwang, which he had given to Mr. Jo Seo-hee, stating that the old man only wanted to use Hwang one last time before discarding him. Upon hearing this, Hwang was stunned on the spot. He realized he had been too foolish. In another scene, the police team also gradually noticed strange points in Jang Tae-san's case. The way the killer killed Misuk and Khan committed crimes were different. One was amateur and the other was professional. The knife found was manufactured in a craft workshop. What was special was that the workshop produced each knife with a unique handle for each customer. Immediately, I.M. Song-woo led his teammates to Moon Il-seok's bar. He asked the staff there if they had seen the old man carrying this knife, but everyone was afraid of being implicated, so they shook their heads. On the other hand, the two old foxes met again, but this time not to consult, but to control each other. Mr. Moon Il-seok said he knew the date Jo Seo-hee would go abroad. Certainly when she leaves, if anything happens, he will have to bear all the consequences alone. Therefore, Moon Il-seok warned Jo Seo-hee not to leave South Korea until he had killed Jang Tae-san and Park Jae-kyung. This angered Jo Seo-hee told Jo Seo-hee to pull him out of Misuk's case because the police were targeting him. If Jo Seo-hee died, Jo Seo-hee and her disabled son would not be able to live because they were in the same boat. Even though Jo Seo-hee was angry, she still had to keep quiet and help Moon Il-seok. Meanwhile, Park Jae-kyung and Jang Tae-san also had their own plans. Mr. Han was still trying to contact his son, but Assassin Kim appeared indifferent and uninterested. On this side, even though Jang Tae-san was a wanted criminal, he only needed to walk straight and wear a suit, so no one recognized him. Jang Tae-san went straight to Seo-hee's office. When she saw Jang Tae-san, she was both surprised and amazed. Jang Tae-san showed Seo-hee photos of her luxurious life in her apartment, which made Seo-hee not dare to call the police, but had to obey him. Jang Tae-san presented Jo Seo-hee's family register. It belonged to a company called Venus and the photo studio that kidnapped him. SEO In-hai was also under the management of that company. Venus was the parent company of the company that President Jo Seo-hee managed. If this spread online, he would drag Seo-hee into it as well. With these things, Jo Seo-hee could not but obey Jang Tae-san. Jang Tae-san began to explain his plan. Soon, Jang Tae-san and Park Jae-kyung would be arrested. So, for now, as long as Jo Seo-hee sits still and doesn't interfere, Jang Tae-san will destroy all these documents. And if Jo Seo-hee does the opposite, he will post it online for his daughter's benefit to confront Jo Seo-hee directly. By then, she might not be arrested, but it would still affect her mayoral candidacy. Therefore, she joined hands to help Jang Tae-san. This scene was captured by Park Jae-kyung from the opposite building because the plan had succeeded. Tan went out to meet Park Jae-kyung. Jang Tae-san knew that cunning Jo Seo-hee would not easily cooperate with an enemy. Indeed, she brought the evidence Jang Tae-san had given Jo Seo-hee. Seeing this, he said he would not be easily caught. Jo Seo-hee intended to blame Hwang. This was also what Jang Tae-san wanted. He knew that Hwang was a loyal person and would not easily betray him. But if Hwang knew that Moon Il-seok had betrayed him, he would be so angry that he would reveal everything to Mr. Moon Il-seok's house. Moon Il-seok suspected that Jang Tae-san and Park Jae-kyung had arranged this, but the secretary reported that Park Jae-kyung had not left the apartment because they didn't know she was dressed as a delivery person and had snuck out. Meanwhile, I.M. Song-woo also didn't sit still. He took the hospital camera and went to a club. I.M. Sung-woo quickly found the girl who had distributed the sleeping pills sitting in front of the interrogation table. The girl trembled and said that Hwang had asked her to deliver the drink, but she genuinely didn't know that there were sleeping pills in it. After taking the statement, her colleagues also ran in to report that the knife they found from Hwang was identical to the knife used in the case. Hang was now being sweet-talked by Moon Il-seok to blame his subordinate because the police had found a knife with a custom-made handle. Jo Seo-hee told Hang to give his knife to his subordinate, then blame him for everything. Hwang was quickly convinced by him, so Hwang immediately called his subordinate to meet. But as he drove away, he discovered Jang Tae-san sitting inside. Jang Tae-san told him that Mr. Jo Seo-hee had also used those words to convince his subordinate. Jo Seo-hee's goal was to make the two of them fight. Jang Tae-san also told him that the girl at the bar had revealed his name, causing Hang to officially break down. Jang Tae-san was just waiting for that to draw him to his side. If Hang agreed to surrender and join his side, Jang Tae-san would testify that he did not kill Misuk. To make Hwang more confident, Jang Tae-san allowed Hwang to drive to the meeting point of the subordinates. Jang Tae-san wanted to show Hwang the scene where the subordinate obeyed Moon Il-seok, and he was calling the police to arrest Hwang. Hwang was now scared to save himself. He took Jo Seo-hee's blood-stained shirt and sent it to the police station. At the same time, Hwang told I.M. Seong-woo that he only sent evidence and would not testify because he was afraid of retaliation from Mr. Jo Seo-hee. Jang Tae-san was overjoyed to hear this. He knew that the day of his exoneration was not far off. The evidence shirt was in the hands of the team leader and Park Jae-kyung. Back to Assassin Kim, he had prepared his gun and ammunition, ready to kill Jang Tae-san. But Assassin Kim received a message from M. Han. M. Han sent Assassin Kim a photo of him and Assassin Kim when he was young, with a message reminding him that I gave you a pen to write, not to use as a knife. However, Assassin Kim still showed no emotion on this side, as the police had enough evidence to make an arrest, so he was nowhere to be found. At this time, SK had brought money and assets to escape. Before that, he had run to Mrs. Jo Seo-hee for help. They will still let the auction proceed and then split the money before going their separate ways. At this moment, the TV reported that the police had proven Jang Tae-san innocent. The real killer of Misuk was Chairman Moon Il-seok, and now he has become a wanted criminal. The secretary and Assassin Kim are still by his side. The secretary reminded Moon Il-seok to get on the train to escape tonight, but he was unwilling. Moon Il-seok wanted to kill Jang Tae-san before 9 a.m. tomorrow. That's when Seo Soo-jin's surgery will be performed. Jang Tae-san understood that Jo Seo-hee's evil intentions would not give up on him. Therefore, he begged the doctor to perform the surgery today. Meanwhile, Inspector Du and the secretary posted a photo of Jang Tae-san and Mrs. Jo Seo-hee working together. Immediately, the prosecutor's office and the public were very confused. Reporters surrounded Ms. Jo Seo-hee's office. Of course, she denied it and said it was a Photoshop image. But this also made her not dare to touch the issue of arresting Mr. Moon Il-seok again. Until now, the spy in the police station has just been revealed. He was the one who revealed important information to Mr. Suk. Now he is also assigned to guard the hospital. The spy told Mr. Suk that this was the final report. At the same time, he demanded 10 billion for the new information. Knowing that this news concerned Seo Soo-jin's surgery, Mr. Jo Seo-hee immediately agreed. The secretary brought the money to the spy and brought back news that the surgery would take place at 10 p.m. tonight. Moon Il-seok immediately came up with a plan to infiltrate the hospital. Assassin Kim would help him kill Jang Tae-san with his own hands. While Jang Tae-san was lying in the hospital bed, Mr. Moon Il-seok was also on his way. Before leaving, Assassin Kim asked a cryptic question. "Father, who am I really?" It turned out that although he showed no emotion, Assassin Kim's mind had begun to have doubts. Meanwhile, the police were on duty at the hospital. But it seemed that Mr. Jo Seo-hee's spy was in the camera room. He texted him that the car had passed the camera. Then, Assassin Kim and Mr. Jo Seo-hee pretended to be cleaners and dispersed to different locations. There were many police officers, but they still let Killer Kim infiltrate. Finally, Mr. Jo Seo-hee entered Jang Tae-san's operating room. Meanwhile, Killer Kim entered another room, in case Tan was brought into this one. But surprisingly, the person on the operating table was Mr. Han. Ms. Han reminded her son that Killer Kim didn't call him father before, but he had nicknamed Han General. Killer Kim was a little moved at this moment, but due to his memory loss, he didn't recognize his father until Han took a pen cap from Killer Kim's pocket. Then, he placed it on his pen. When Killer Kim saw that it fit, his memories gradually returned. The knife in Killer Kim's hand also fell. At this time, Mr. Moon Il-seok was tricked because the person on the operating table was actually a mannequin. Going back to the day before, Jang Tae-san knew him. Moon Il-seok was not simple. Park Jae-kyung also told Jang Tae-san about the spy at the police station. The spy, when discovered and advised by his teammates, also changed. He also promised to help them trick Mr. Moon Il-seok. Moon Il-seok fell into the trap. Even the staff working in the camera room sided with the good guys for the show. But when the police stormed the hospital room, Moon Il-seok escaped through the ventilation shaft. Moon Il-seok successfully drove out and escaped right before Jang Tae-san's eyes. Jang Tae-san immediately gave chase and climbed onto Moon Il-seok's car to a junkyard. Jang Tae-san immediately grabbed the villain by the neck to prevent his escape. The two fought, but Moon Il-seok still got into his car and escaped. Jang Tae-san drove a nearby car to pursue him. They drove side by side. Moon Il-seok used his larger car to intentionally ram Jang Tae-san into a pile of scrap. Jang Tae-san also retaliated with an unexpected ram from the side. When Jang Tae-san got out of the car, Moon Il-seok was hiding nearby. But when Moon Il-seok felt disrespected by Jang Tae-san, he couldn't stand the provocation and appeared with a stick. Jang Tae-san increased his strength by 1,000%. He used his hand to block the stick and broke it. Then he rushed forward and kicked the old man, breaking his teeth. Because of that villain, Jang Tae-san lost 8 years with his wife and daughter. Jang Tae-san continuously threw punches at him to vent his anger. Old age cannot compete with youth. Thus, after being beaten, Moon Il-seok was tied up by Jang Tae-san, but unexpectedly, a fire ignited from the car's fuel after the collision. When Jang Tae-san went to meet the police and told them where to apprehend the villain, a loud explosion startled everyone. However, his daughter's surgery was the most important. Therefore, Park Jae-kyung quickly took Jang Tae-san home. Seo In-hai hugged Jang Tae-san tightly as soon as she saw him, fearing that if anything happened to him, her daughter wouldn't survive. This scene was witnessed by I.M. Seung-woo, who arrived later. If he said he wasn't heartbroken, that would be a lie. Meanwhile, Mrs. Jo Seo-hee was still calmly discussing the auction with experts, and suddenly she received a phone call informing her that Mr. Moon Il-seok had been arrested. At this time, Moon Il-seok had half his face burned and was being taken to the hospital. That was the karma he had to pay for his wicked deeds. Jang Tae-san was now comfortably under anesthesia for the bone marrow transplant surgery. After a long while, he vaguely regained consciousness. Inspector Park Jae-kyung was by his side, accompanying him. She told Jang Tae-san that Hwang had confessed and told everything. The killer who murdered her father 8 years ago was Mr. Moon Il-seok, so Jang Tae-san's criminal record was cleared. Jang Tae-san no longer needed to feel ashamed when visiting his daughter. Finally, Seo Soo-jin received the bone marrow transplant. At the same time, the auction was taking place. A series of fake antiques were being valued exorbitantly by everyone. Greedy Jo Seo-hee was extremely happy. She and Moon Il-seok's secretary thought they would receive all the money. But as soon as the auction ended and the money was in their hands, Their hands were cuffed. Both were arrested at the same time. Jo Seo-hee couldn't endure the humiliation. She intended to take medicine to end this humiliation. But Park Jae-kyung showed her a video of her son. The boy was disabled but loved his mother very much. Park Jae-kyung seized the opportunity to snatch back the poison pill, while Jo Seo-hee burst into tears of despair and regret. The trial resumed. The real culprit was brought to light. The wrongly accused person was exonerated by the law. Thus, for 8 years, the grievances and injustices were resolved. The wronged individuals reclaimed their justice. Seo Soo-jin, who received Jang Tae-san's bone marrow, was given a new life. Jang Tae-san kept his promise to return the teddy bear to his daughter when she recovered. For the first time touching his daughter, Jang Tae-san felt his noble fatherly mission. Park Jae-kyung, who was seeking justice for her father, also felt relieved. Finally, she could tear down the investigation board that had followed her for so many years. Jo Seo-hee, on the other hand, had her face burned and eyes blinded. Jo Seo-hee was also confined in a dark prison. As for Killer Kim, after finding his biological father, he was also imprisoned to serve his punishment. But Killer Kim accepted the punishment because only then would he have a chance to start his life anew. On the day Seo Soo-jin was discharged from the hospital, I.M. Seung-woo brought her a gift. I.M. Seung-woo held Seo Soo-jin's hand to meet her biological father because he truly loved Seo In-hai. I.M. Seung-woo wanted them to be happy. After that, the three of Seo Soo-jin's family members spent time together. They were filled with the joy and laughter of a complete family. At night, Seo Soo-jin finally had her wish fulfilled to sleep with her parents. After she fell asleep, Seo In-hai and Jang Tae-san had a chance to talk. Before, they loved each other very much, but now it was different. Jang Tae-san didn't want to be an obstacle in Seo In-hai's new life. Jang Tae-san knew I.M. Seung-woo was a very good person. He also had the status and a job sufficient to provide a comfortable life for the mother and daughter. Seo Soo-jin inside heard everything, but she only cried silently. She also understood her father's suffering. But Seo In-hai went to meet I.M. Seung-woo to express that she couldn't be with him because I.M. Seung-woo was more like a benefactor to Seo In-hai than a love interest. Police officer I.M. Seung-woo understood her, so he didn't blame her. I.M. Seung-woo sincerely wished Seo In-hai happiness. Seo In-hai also understood that she needed to give Jang Tae-san time to regain his spirit, and he needed to rediscover his true self-worth. Therefore, no matter how long Jang Tae-san was gone, she and Seo Soo-jin would wait for him. The film ends here. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and see you again.